Broadcasting from their world headquarters in Texas, it's the Arcade Repair Tips Live Show. The show that discusses arcade repair, restoration, news, and more. Now, here are your hosts, Tim and Jonathan.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome to episode 75 of the Arcade Repair Tips Live Show for May 2023. My name is Jonathan Leung. I'm the producer, director, and editor here at the Arcade Repair Tips video series. And joining me today, as always, is Mr. Arcade Repair Tips himself, Tim Peterson. Tim, how you doing?
I'm fine, John. See, you got your Pac-Man 7-Eleven stuff.
So
most of them are selling out everywhere I go, and I'm in a lot of them.
So I wore the hat for the last live show, for those people who remember. And this was a shirt. I actually had the shirt for the last episode. But Tim, I wore my Easter shirt instead because it was Easter.
Right.
So now I get a chance to wear my actual 7-Eleven Pac-Man t-shirt. And Tim is right. If you haven't been going to your local 7-Eleven and kind of checking out things and seeing if you can find one, you should soon. It does seem like a lot of the locations are selling out. So.
I got some stickers. That's all I got so
You haven't
far.
got the shirt yet?
No, I couldn't find one. Not in my size.
Okay, you can find them online too.
Yeah.
So you can order them from the 7-Eleven store if you wish to do that. Now, those of you who are watching this may know something a little bit different. We did buy a different camera. I don't know if the quality is any better or worse. And Tim, we may actually try to get up to 1080p in another episode. We'll think about that. But for today, we're staying with our tried and true 720p. But we did get a new camera. Hopefully, the quality is better than what we've gotten in the past. So
It looks better on the screen right here.
it's hard for me to
seeing,
tell.
yeah.
I don't know. I mean, like, we have a very small window here. We're not watching it full screen. I know a lot of you guys are probably watching it on your TV sets or maybe your PCs or whatever. But maybe you have a nice monitor. And if you do, hopefully we look a little bit better to you this time around. Yeah. So there you go. Now, before we get started in any questions or anything, Tim, how are you doing? What's been going on?
Just a little bit of traveling, getting ready to do some more traveling. Life never slows down, John. It's just always busy. You know, every time I think I'm going to have a day off, something comes up. But it's good to have things to do and not be bored and be able to travel. I look back a lot of my Facebook memories from 2 years ago when we were in lockdown and stuff and how bad it was. I mean, I guess it's been 3 years now. We don't really think about, it's easy to forget, what it was like back then. So glad to be busy, though, and have stuff to do. How about you?
Oh, just normal things, life. Since we last saw our audience, of course, I rented a movie theater out.
There you did.
And we went and saw the Super Mario Brothers movie. We'll be talking about our thoughts on that movie here in just a bit. And a little spoiler, Tim, I've seen it twice now.
Oh,
so we went back and saw it again. So I will give you my thoughts on that, and Tim will as well. And you guys can tell us what you thought if you've seen it. We will also be obviously answering your questions. And I do want to throw it real quick to the live chat, Tim. So YouTube Punk kind of came in real quick and said, he won't be able to make it, but all the best to Tim, Jonathan, and the live chat. YouTube Punk, we're sorry you missed out. Hopefully we can catch you next episode. Geeklight08 is here, Tim. We have The Real Hammer Billy Lee is here. Dan McCombs is here. Encore MPW is here. He says, hello, professors, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get the show started.
Okay.
So there we go. We have, White Dinky's Man Cave says, good to see you guys. Hope you guys are doing okay and your families. It's been a while since I've seen a live show. We're glad that you're here for this one. Let's see. This is Danny that has been on the show using my Man Cave name now. So there you go. Dan says, me and my 8-year-old saw the Super Mario Brothers movie twice in the theaters already too. So several of you guys have already seen it. And once we get to that point in the show, Tim, we'd love to hear your feedback on it. We'll give you our thoughts, and we want to hear your thoughts too if you have seen it. Just to give you a real quick little thing, I think it was good. I mean, we'll talk more about it, but I think for the most part, me and Tim enjoyed it. So
for a while, it was good, really good.
So we are caught up right now, Tim, with the live chat. And so let's go ahead and get into some of the questions that you guys submitted. So the first one I have here is from The Random Mechanic, which is a cool name, Tim.
I like it. So
The Random Mechanic says, I just bought a Lethal Enforcers arcade, and I'm having a slightly different issue with the guns. When you pull the trigger, the screen flashes, and it shows you shot a bullet, but the shot doesn't register anywhere on the screen. Also, you cannot reload. When you shoot off screen, the screen flashes and doesn't reload. Have you ever seen this issue before? If so, what could it be? Also, both guns were replaced by the last owner in an attempt to fix the issue. Any input is greatly appreciated. So, Tim, we have the Random Mechanic here who has a Lethal Enforcers game, which is a light gun game using the optical sensors. And so he's saying that whenever he pulls that trigger, it's like it's registering a shot, but there's no shot on the screen.
Right.
Okay, and it'll flash. Boom.
And he can't reload.
Right. So typically you'd shoot off the screen, you get a reload. He's saying it doesn't do that either. So what are some things that the Random Mechanic can do here in order to get his Lethal Enforcers playing again?
Well, we did shoot a video on troubleshooting light gun games. games. But just to quickly go through, he asked the question, have we seen this before? And the answer is a solid yes.
Oh, yeah.
But usually the first thing that we suspect is that something's wrong with the gun. So one of the easiest ways to do if you have another gun is to try it. And it sounds like that the previous owner tried to put some guns in there, but it didn't work. So anytime, it's kind of like when you buy something from somebody, it's kind of like, I remember when I bought my first house. The guy said, you'll never have to worry about the plumbing. I did it all myself. And for the next 5 years of owning that home, guess what I did? A lot of plumbing. And so you kind of got to know who you're buying it from and what their level of expertise is, because this is get tricky. Although it's pretty simple when you know what you're doing. One of the hardest things that you have to get right, though, is how and which way to plug in the guns, which gun to plug in, which side and stuff. So I would always, if you're pretty sure you got a working gun, but you're getting this, I would start tracking that wire, and if the wiring should be good if it's a new gun, then I would check the connectors where they plug in the board. There's a chip there that can go bad, especially if you plug them in backwards. A lot of times it'll do damage and blow that chip. So I would check that area really heavily. I've seen pins that have gotten kind of out of kilter, or, everything's on, but one pin gets kind of mashed or something. So that's the first place I would look. You could get the schematic out and figure that out, but that's where I would start. If your guns are good, then it probably is your board. Now, the outside chance it could be the monitor, but normally if you're getting the flash like that, something is going on. Unless your monitor's really dark, you can turn up the brightness. That will help a lot. But if you're not, what really got me when he said that it wasn't reloading.
Right.
So not only is it not registering a screen, it's not registering a fire really at all. And so that's where I would check the wiring, and I would really check those connectors going to the board and the chip on the board, possibly that area for damage.
Yeah, Tim, and there's something unfortunate about these boards, is it does seem that it is possible to plug in the gun both ways.
The other way, yes.
Right, which is really bad. We like it when they key connectors to where I can only hook it up one way. But on these Lethal Enforcers boards in particular, it does seem like you're able to plug it in either way. Yeah,
there is a way that it actually fits better and is the right way, with a little prongs going down, I believe, but it will let you, and some people just don't know any better, so be real careful when you're plugging those in. Make sure that you check the schematics, that you are plugging them in the right way if you ever have to do that.
Okay, Tim, I'm going to go ahead and throw up the slide then so everybody can see it here. Since the light guns have been replaced, Tim, we are going to assume that they are functioning properly. Now, like Tim mentioned, you may want to double check that just to make sure, but the fact that the original owner said that he bought new guns and it still wasn't working probably leads us to think it's probably not a gun issue at this point. Let's start off by making sure that the light guns are connected correctly to the game board. If you look at the wiring schematic in the manual, and Tim, I've took a snippet of it here for the random mechanic, you will notice that there are 4 wires that connect from the light gun to the game board. There's a hit, a ground, a trigger, and a voltage. Make sure that these wires are connected to the proper locations and that the wiring is in good shape. Check the continuity of the wires with a multimeter to ensure that this is the case. Now, Tim, we heard back from the random mechanic, and it does sound like what happened was that the connectors were plugged in backwards at some point, and it blew the optical boards inside the gun.
Right.
So he said what he ended up doing was plugging the connectors back to the correct position, replacing the optical boards in the guns, boom, back in business.
Good.
So, like we said, unfortunately with that board, you can plug in those connectors backwards, and that can be a costly error. It can cost you probably $45 per board, right, to replace the optical sensor boards. So it did in Random Mechanics' case, but for $90, Tim, not a bad repair to get a Lethal Enforcers back up and running. Right?
For sure.
So, and great troubleshooting here on the Random Mechanics part, Tim, to do all of that.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of people who may have given up at some point. It can be frustrating, especially when you're like, I'm doing everything right and everything's hooked up correctly, but all of a sudden you're still not getting what you want. So I think that this was great troubleshooting on his point, and we appreciate him letting us know what it was as well, so we can tell you guys. But Tim, it ultimately came down to being plugged in wrong and then having some issues with the optical boards on the guns.
Okay, well that makes a lot of sense.
So, Random Mechanic, we are so glad that you're able to get your game up and running. And thank you for giving us the update. And Tim, I just got that like yesterday. I sent him a reply, and then he sent that back. So, thanks for letting us know what the issue is. And hopefully we can help more people with this issue, Tim, because it does seem like a very common issue with light like guns, right?
Oh, yeah. And I'm glad that he got his game fixed, though.
Absolutely. So, glad to hear you got your game fixed. Enjoy it. Like we say here, fix the game, play the game.
There we go.
So, there you go. Tim, I'm going to go ahead and go over to the live chat just to check in. It looks like we're still caught up.
Okay.
I don't see anything new. So, remember, guys, if you want to ring in with any of your comments or questions during the live show, you are more than welcome to do that in the live chat if you are watching us live. Now, if you're watching this after the fact on YouTube, feel free to leave comments down below, Tim, because we also will try to address those on the next live show, or sometimes we'll just address them in the comment section below. But we do want you guys to chime in if you have any questions or anything like that. We would love to answer them for you. Jumping General's here. He says, hey, Tim.
Hello.
So there we go. We got another live chat there. So don't forget, interact with us during the show in the live chat or after the show in the comments section below. Okay, Tim, let us go to our next question from Chad. And Chad writes, good afternoon. I have a Chinese model Crazy Dunkers arcade basketball game. I've attached some photos of the arcade itself and the main board. I'm hoping you might have a manual for it, as the manufacturer doesn't have one or can't supply one. Alternatively, I am hoping that you know how to reset the high score for this particular model. I tried various combinations of pushing the 3 buttons on the main board on the right side. However, nothing seems to allow or bring up the high score reset option. Thank you. Either way, for your help, Chad. So, Tim, we have Chad here, and I'm going to show the pictures real quick. He did send in some pictures.
Nice.
Now, Tim, this Crazy Dunkers here is, it looks like about 50 other models that we've seen,
right.
I feel like. But you will notice this board here, he's obviously got a power supply there, along with the main board for the basketball game. And you will notice the 3 buttons that he's talking about on the right-hand side, which I can almost guarantee you are for the settings.
Right.
Now, the problem, though, is, Tim, we haven't seen many of these with the 3-button setup like that, correct?
Yeah, normally it seems like they always have a 4-button setup. And it's a very much like a game called Street Hoops.
Right.
Made by Bromley or Coastal Amusements. Maybe one of those manuals would help him because I think they probably use similar setups and stuff. Usually it's always a combination of hold 1 button down or hold 2 buttons down until it goes into a setting or something. But realistically, without a manual, this is going to be tough. You really are guessing.
Now, I was able to find some manuals for the 4-button games,
okay.
And so I've got some links here we'll show here in a minute, Tim. But you are right. Without a manual, it makes it really hard. He can try some of the 4-button manuals, Tim, and maybe that will help you. But another thing is, Tim, you could just get one of the 4-button boards and replace it, because
right.
I think the connectors are pretty similar.
That would be a good idea. But he may use the 4-button manual. It may still help him. One of the buttons is probably for credits or something, and he may not need it.
Exactly.
The other 3 are probably what he needs, and that may be, this one might not have like a credit or a service button. So my guess.
What were the games that you named again that were like
Street
this?
Hoops
Street
is
Hoops?
very much like that.
Okay.
It's a Bromley game. You see them in a lot of Chuck E. Cheese's and stuff, those little mini basketball games. Coastal made another game too, 2 of them. One of them was called... It's like there was Street Hoops, and then there was like a Little Dunkers or something, which is really close to that one. But I think if you search some of those American-made games, they probably had Chinese boards in them, and they probably work a lot the switches and stuff may. Try to remember just Little Hoops or something, what it was called. I'm sure it would be pretty easy to Google search.
Okay, sounds good, Tim. So I'm going to go ahead and throw up the slide here. Now, like I mentioned, many of these Chinese basketball arcade games use similar boards, like Tim mentioned. So you can look up Street Hoops by Bromley, was the one, Tim? Or some of the other ones that Tim mentioned, and maybe you would be able to find a board for it. But unfortunately, like most of the ones we've seen recently, have this 4-button setup. They have a set button, an option button, a plus, and a minus. So like with the option, you'd hold the option, you'd use the plus or minus to move up and down, and then when you found the option you wanted, you'd hit set to lock it in. Now, again, instead of a 3-button setup that yours uses, like I said, we've seen more 4-button setups. It might be worth trying the instructions for the 4-button board just to see if they would work. And so, Tim, I put some links to some of the 4-button setups in their manuals below on AliExpress so he can find those. You could also just order one of these newer boards with the 4-button setup, and it should be mostly plug and play. The boards that I referenced here are very, very, very similar to the board you have. You do want to double check that the connections are the same. That would be the biggest thing. But if the connectors are the same, you could just replace it with a 4-button board. And it wasn't too expensive, Tim. These board setups, I think, were like less than $200, which I mean is a lot. But if you've got a basketball game on location, it's probably it's making that in a month, maybe less.
Oh,
so
probably a week.
Yeah, exactly.
Easily.
Basketball games are usually very popular. But if you did go with the 4-button board, at least that way you would have some instructions for it. So that's the best advice we can give you. I think, like Tim mentioned, you might try some of the Americanized games to see if they have manuals or board setups like what you've got here, Chad. But unfortunately, sometimes these Chinese boards, they make like one-offs too. And so it may be a one-off board that was just made for this particular model, and then later they upgraded it to the newer version, you know? So it may be that it's very difficult to get a manual for your board.
Show me a picture of the board again.
Yeah, we can go back here real quick.
Another thing that you could do, I don't know if any of those chips, it looks like maybe the EEPROM or something is socketed. You could pull that off for a little while and reset your chips and see if it'll go back into like a factory mode.
That's true too.
And you might reset your high score if that's the main goal. But somebody watching this, maybe you are familiar, you have an arcade, you have this game, you have the manual. Get in touch with us so we can let Chad know really the manual is what we need more than anything.
Absolutely. So, Chad, hopefully we gave you at least some places where you can go to look for some information. If you have any other questions or anything that we can help you out with, please let us know. And good luck finding the manual for that board. Or if you decide to get a different board for it, let us know how that goes as well. Okay, Tim, I'm going to go ahead and jump over to the live chat real quick. We got, let's see, we got Danny here. It says, I like Lethal Enforcers, but sometimes they can be a headache. That is for sure. They have, typically they have a mirror in them if it's a dedicated cabinet. And if that mirror or the monitor gets dirty, that light gun won't pick up so well. And again, like we talked about, the connectors on the light guns you can plug them in backwards, which really is not a great design, Tim. We really like it when they key connectors, so that way you can only plug them in one way. It makes it a lot easier on us. So yeah, there are a lot of things about Lethal Enforcers, but Tim, I think of Lethal Enforcers, I know that there were light games before Lethal Enforcers, but that's probably the one that I remember being the most popular first.
Yeah.
You know, like I know that there were some before that. I am totally aware of like some of the Exity stuff and things like that, some of the classic games. But there was just something about Lethal Enforcers, like that's like the first big memory I have of a light gun game when I was a kid.
Yeah, and so, we played the heck out of it a lot.
Oh, we did. It's a lot of fun. We used to have Lethal Enforcers 2 in the arcade that we ran, and it was really fun, Tim. Love Lethal Enforcers 2.
It made good money. We always had, and relatively not a lot of trouble out of it, but there was always something though.
Keep the monitor working,
Yeah.
Keep everything clean on it. Typically not an issue. The thing about light gun games that gets broken more than anything is the guns.
Yeah.
Because kids will throw them, they'll drop them, and we try our best to we would put like the little chains on to keep that from happening, but kids are rough on stuff, and so you would not believe how many times we've had to replace guns. That's probably the biggest piece that ends up getting damaged whenever you have light gun games. So,
For sure.
Let's see. Danny says, can you hook up a 3-inch HAP trackball to a 60-in-1 board? Yeah, you should be able to.
Yes.
On those 60-in-1s, some of them have a connector for the trackball, or sometimes you have to hook up the trackball wires to the player too. So it just depends on what version of the 60-in-1 that you have, but you should be able to hook a trackball up. Yes, you could. And it makes playing Millipede and Centipede a whole lot better.
Yep.
So, Jumping General, how do you guys have your games plugged in? For home, for example, do you have a 10-row power strip? How many games could I plug into one? So typically we only run like maybe 3 games on a strip.
Yeah.
Because we don't want to overload our breakers. You know, it depends on how many amps your breaker is. You know, as to how many games you can power on it. But typically we only like to run 3 off of one plug. And if you're in a commercial establishment, most fire codes will not allow you to use power strips. They want you to plug directly into the wall, so that way you actually have to have an electrician come out and make sure that you have wall plugs for everything. They typically do not allow you to use power strips in commercial settings, but for home settings, typically I go 3 to a plug. So 3, yeah. So I'll plug in a power strip. I'll put 3 on that power strip. So I don't want to overload my breaker. And you know, I mean, if you have bigger breakers that are bigger than 15 amp, then you can probably do more. So it really just depends on where you're putting your games and what kind of breakers that you have in your circuit breaker box, right?
Correct.
So I mean, if you're going higher than 15 amp, then you can do more. So it just depends. I
would highly recommend too, instead of not just a power strip, but an actual surge suppressor, something that actually might protect it if we have a lightning strike or something like that.
Absolutely.
That $3 one works okay, but it will not protect it. And the $20 one that you can get on Amazon or something with some surge protection may be well worth it if you're going to go that route.
Agreed. So that's a really good point, Tim. Yeah, the $3 one won't give you really any kind of protection if you do have a lightning strike. You want to go with like $20 usually is what you can get for an actual surge protector. Make sure it says surge protector, and make sure it's rated for however many amps that you plan to run off of it. So, let's see. Oh, Geeklight says not to mention the sound chip. Caps suck on the Lethal Enforcers. That is correct. So the proprietary Konami sound chip that they've made replacements for that now, I think, but a lot of people just put like a series of capacitors on that chip. It just really depends on how you want to do your repair. I do think that there are some replacement chips for that now, to where you don't have to just like basically like peel off the top of the chip and put the capacitors on like we've seen before. You actually can get a replacement for that. Let's see. Yeah. Danny says, yeah, I've got 2 Lethal Enforcers boards that work, just bad sound chips. Very common with Konami games across the board. I mean, if you even look at like Turtles, Simpsons, X-Men, like any of the 4-player games that people love, same thing with the sound chips, same kind of issues. So, okay, Tim, I think that we are caught up with the live chat, so let us move on to Dan's question. Dan says, I was able to get a hold of an original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles board that has the 2-player Japanese game on it. At first it was playing blind, and we could hear the game playing, but the screen was black with occasional flashes of green on the screen. I had to go somewhere, so I powered it off. When I came back hours later, I powered it on again, and it was no longer playing blind, but instead was showing the color red, though I could see the game playing otherwise normally. Again, there were occasional full-screen flashes of green. I decided to take the board and swap out the EPROMs with the 4-player World game. So he has a 2-player board, Tim, with the 2-player Japanese ROMs. He swaps out for the 4-player ROMs. When I power it back on, the game again worked, but this time it looks like maybe the red and the green to some extent is working. Blue still seems to be missing in action entirely. Doing some repair log reading, I'm wondering if it's possible that 2 bad Konami 052535 chips on the board. It looks like there is a separate one from red, green, and blue. I see that there are some reproduction chips I could replace them with. But before I go that far, I want to check with you and see if this makes sense or if as the cause or if there's something else I'm missing. If these may be it, is there a way I can test with a multimeter to be sure and figure out which ones are bad? Thanks for the years of arcade help, Dan. Now, Tim, we had a question from Dan, I think on he wrote, I think it was episode 11 of the Question and Answer podcast. Okay. So Dan has been with us for like 13 years. All right. So Dan, first off, and I wrote this in the email back to him, thank you for being such a loyal listener, follower, watcher of Arcade Repair Tips. That's a long time, and we're sorry that you had to endure all of this for all these years. Is that a good way to put that?
Most people would have quit years ago.
Oh, absolutely. But not Dan. Dan is determined. Now, Tim, I do want to throw these pictures up here. So the first picture is a Mortal Kombat board he had in there, which is working. Okay, so we know that the monitor should be in good shape. Okay, as far as we know. So, and here are some of his descriptions here. So here's the board when it was just the red with the Japanese ROMs, so you can see. And then when you put the 4-player ROMs, you can see we got red and green, but we are definitely missing the blue. The blue seems to be a little low. And so at this point, I think we can rule out monitor issue.
Right.
Okay, but the question is, we may not want to rule it out just yet. Probably, Tim, what I would recommend doing here is probably just going ahead and popping that Mortal Kombat board back in just to make sure you're back where you were before, right?
Correct.
Now, beyond that, Tim, what can he do? Let's say it is a game board issue. What can Dan do in order to get that working?
Well, it could have the bad chips on the board. It would kind of be a pain, but you could desolder and switch 2 of them.
That's true.
And see now if you have blue.
Right.
Then you would for sure know that you have the other 2 chips are bad. So I definitely think, but I would really also check, don't eliminate the wiring or anything like that, except for the fact that it does work with the Mortal Kombat board.
Right.
So that probably does really lean us toward a board issue. Checking the voltage, you're gonna place your red probe on pin 1 and your black probe on the ground, which is
so we're
like
talking about
9.
on the IC, right?
Yeah, on the IC. So 1 is red and black is, or ground is the black probe. You put it on 1 and 9, and you're going to check those to see if you have continuity at least through there.
But it should be 5 volts.
Yeah,
it should be 5 volts there.
Well, you remember we used to have the voltage tester, the 5-volt testers. Those work really good on those. So you want to check your voltage, and then you want to check. What I meant to say was you want to check continuity from your wires to those places. So even if your chips are good, if there's a break in the trace or anything like that, But if is that an actual picture of his board?
No, this is a picture of another one. So I'm just
so we don't know what kind of shape the board is in.
So I already sent Dan back a reply, and I think already replied back with him a little bit, but wrong one. We'll get to that in a minute. So let's go ahead and read it here, Tim. Yes, definitely possible that the Konami 05235 chips could be going bad on the board. 535. I actually missed a 5 on that. With that said, still probably a good idea to check your monitor wiring from the JAMA harness and plug back in the Mortal Kombat board just to make sure that your monitor is functioning properly. That's very important. If all that checks out, though, probably an issue with the game board like we're talking about. Now, you should be able to check the voltage like Tim mentioned on these ICs by placing your red probe on pin 1. So that's the red, that's the voltage pin, and the black probe on pin 9. You should get 5 volts off of all of those. So if you're going down that, you should be able to hit the first one, 5 volts, 5 volts, 5 volts. You should also be able to test the continuity to the respective colors on the JAMA harness to pin 8. So pin 8 is the one right next to pin 9, which is the ground, okay? So if you take one probe and you put it on pin 8, and then you put let's say it's the red chip, the chip that powers the red, and you put it on pin 8 of that IC, you take the other probe and you put it on the red pin on the JAMA harness, you should have continuity.
Correct.
That makes sense?
Yeah.
Same thing with the green one. So on the green one that powers this, pin 8 of the green IC to pin to the JAMA pin green, and you should get that. Like Tim mentioned, if you're not getting that, broken trace could be possible. And so at that point, you may need to repair the trace in order to get there. Now, we should never rule out, Tim, something that Michael always reminds us of. Let's touch up some solder on these.
Sure.
Okay, so I mean, before we even do a replacement, it may be worth just touching up the solder to make sure that they are connected properly to the board. On boards this old, Tim, we're starting to get a lot of broken solder joints. Just over time, they become cold and they crack. So, it may just be worth touching up the solder on these for sure. And Tim, I also put JAMAarcade.net, this website here that does reproduction. So you can see what the reproductions look like. And there's several parts suppliers. Arcade Parts and Repair is one, Tim, that carry replacements for these. Mm-hmm. So you should be able to get replacements for these if you want to. So, but overall, that should be good. Now, we have Dan here in the live chat, Tim, and I sent him back a reply to some of this information, but we'll go ahead and recover it again. He says, 2010, it's the same cabinet monitor problems you guys helped me with back then. It's been good since, Tim, so there you go. Which end of the chip in that picture is pin 1? So if you look at the picture that we have here, you will see a little square, I think on the far left. It's really hard to see in this picture, I know. I believe the far left is the square, and I believe that's pin 1. Now, there's an easy way to check, though, Tim. If you put your red and your black probe on those outside pins, and the voltage is negative, you have them swapped.
Right.
Okay? So, exactly. So, let's say you have the black probe on pin 1 and the red probe on pin 9. If you check it and it's giving you a -5, you've got them swapped.
Then you know which one is pin 1.
Exactly.
Right?
And you just swap them around, and now you know which one pin 1
Does that make sense, Dan? That's kind of Jonathan nailed it. That is a really easy way to test.
Right. So if you get negative voltage when you're testing the outside pins.
It's one on the ends.
Right.
It's one of them.
Always going to be the ends.
And that's how you're going to check to see which one is 1. The one that doesn't get the negative when you do it, that's the pin 1.
But it does look like there is a pin 1 indicator on the board that's on the far left. So you may want to start with the red probe on that one and the black probe on the other side, just because that's what it looks like. But again, if you get negative voltage there, then more than likely you need to swap them. So that's easy enough. And then pin 8, of course, is going to be next to pin 9. So if we're assuming that the left one is pin 1, the far one's pin 9, that'd be the one over here. You just want to touch that pin, and it's okay if you touch the ground too at the same time. I don't think that'll hurt anything. Well, better not. I was about to say it could, but if you touch if you touch your probe to pin 8 on one of those, and then touch it to the red, the green, the blue, and see if you get continuity. You should get continuity between one of those. That is the output. Pin 8 is the output of that IC. So, but anyway, so that should give you a whole lot of troubleshooting there. Now, I love Tim's idea too. Desolder all the chips, and then solder a different one into a different place and see if different colors happen, right? So, it looks like the red has been pretty consistent for the most part. So, figure out which one is the red one, and then swap it into the blue position. And see if you get it. If you do, that means, okay, I need to order a new IC.
Right.
You can
stop right there, leave the other one open.
Right, and then when you get the new IC in,
get the IC in.
There you go. But you may also just try touching up the solder. It could be that the blue one has a cracked solder joint on pin 8.
Very true.
Boom. So it could be any of that, but hopefully that gives you a lot of things to think about. I did write you back an email, Dan, with the information we talked about with the outside pins and stuff, but it bounced back, so I don't know if you got it. I tried to send it again, but it may not have come through. So, but we were able to cover it here, Tim. So I think we got everything in there. Is there anything else you can give Dan before we move
Thank you
on?
for your question, Dan. That's a really good one.
Yeah, absolutely. And we hope that you get your Turtles board back up and running. Does seem like typically, Tim, when we see missing colors, our minds automatically boom monitor. Okay,
right.
like boom monitor. But the fact that Dan had already done some additional troubleshooting of plugging in a Mortal Kombat board, making sure that that was working so we know the monitor is good, allowed us to further troubleshoot down the line. So it's always important, guys, to take your troubleshooting as far as you possibly can so that way we can help you. Because Tim, if we wouldn't have known that, we would have been throwing out a million monitor issues.
Right,
so,
transistors or something.
Exactly, we would have been going monitor. So it just depends. It's if you can get further in troubleshooting, it makes a huge difference with the kind of response we can give you. So
good.
But Dan, hopefully you can get your Turtles board going. Please keep us updated on your progress. Tim, I'm going to go ahead and throw this to Joe. Says, love the shirts, guys. So I mentioned I'm wearing the 7-Eleven Pac-Man shirt. Tim actually has a 16-bit bar and arcade shirt on. And Tim, I forget where that's located.
I don't remember either. I think they're out of business now. But
I don't know.
When they having trouble, they were having trouble, I think.
Yeah, so what we did during the pandemic...
We were buying some shirts from them to try to help them.
Right, so during the pandemic, we went through and bought shirts from a lot of different bar arcades because we knew that they were hurting, or different arcades around the country. And so what Tim is rocking one of those right now. Mm-hmm. So that was 16-bit bar arcade, plus arcade, right? Mm-hmm. And let me see here. You guys are going to... Actually, it looks like it is still around. They have multiple locations. They have one in Cincinnati, Ohio, and they have one in Indianapolis, Indiana. So that is the shirt you are rocking.
Okay.
So there you go. Original gamer. So if you guys are in Nashville,
or play one day.
It says actually Nashville. It looks like Columbus, Cincinnati, whole bunch of them.
Wow.
So they've got multiple locations. So if you guys are anywhere near a 16-bit bar and arcade, Columbus, Cleveland, Cincinnati, Dublin, Charlotte, Nashville, Indianapolis, Easton, and Pittsburgh.
Wow.
I'll be going to Pittsburgh pretty soon. Maybe I'll drop in.
There we go.
So there you go. If you are, then make sure you check out 16-bit bar and arcade. So plus arcade. Bar plus arcade. So there you go. And then, of course, I've got the 7-Eleven shirt on like we talked about earlier. So good stuff there. Current Phonograph says, greetings from California. I'm late. You're never late here. You're always on time. That's right. Exactly. So in California,
it's still early there.
That's right. So it's very early there. In fact, what is it? It's 4 o'clock Pacific time, right?
Yep.
2 hours ahead of us. So yeah, it's early
I'll
there.
be in Orange. We'll bring this up in the live show, but I'll be possibly in Orange County end of June.
Oh, wow.
Which is kind of near Disneyland area.
Nice.
Right.
You going to try to make a stop?
Yeah, I'm going to go to Disneyland for sure if I can.
Oh, nice.
If I get a chance, I'll definitely stop at the beach.
There you go.
Maybe a few arcades around there.
Yeah. So hopefully, it's been a while since you've been out there, right?
Yes.
I was about to say, I've never been to California.
About 3 or 4 years.
Yeah. We don't have any divisions out there like my company. As far as west as we go is Colorado.
Right.
So, but there you go. So there we go, guys. So yeah, we love our shirts too, and we were trying to help as many arcade bars and arcades as we could during the pandemic. So that's just one of the shirts we ordered. I just went around ordering shirts from places, so that was fun. But anyway, Tim, let us continue on with our next question from Tim. Tim says, what can you do to stretch the width and height when your external control board doesn't work? My control board, which is the only way I know how to do so, basically doesn't work. I can get into the settings by clicking the mode button on the board, but no other buttons function after that. I've already tested continuity with the cable connector as well as continuity on the control board itself. Continuity is not the issue. My monitor simply won't honor any other button press on the external board. Now, Tim, so we have Tim here, and he's saying that his control board, except for the mode button, does not work. Now, Tim, there's a big giveaway in this with what kind of monitor he has, because there's only certain ones that have a mode button on the control board, and usually they're digital monitors or newer monitors. Correct?
Yeah, we call them newer. We say 2000s and up.
Sure.
But yeah, that's the problem with them. The good thing is they normally do a good job, and it's nice to have that remote board where you can pull it out in front of the monitor and watch what you're doing and do all those kind of things. The bad thing is, and probably it's his problem, is if that board's not working, it won't work. There's no other way to go in, no knobs or anything to turn. Now, you could turn the horizontal width coil if it has one and get a little more width. But the best thing he's probably going to need to do is to find or replace. Now, a lot of times those buttons, you can touch up the solder and stuff on the back. They don't do a whole lot.
Right.
But you could possibly jumper them and kind of make a fake button out of it.
Sure.
But that would be a lot of work. Probably more work than just finding a replacement control board.
Sure. So let's go ahead and throw this up here, Tim, since it kind of covers what you talked about. Before we address the control board issue, we should mention that the horizontal width can be adjusted on most monitors by using the horizontal width coil. Like we mentioned, see our post on adjusting the horizontal width coil for more information. That doesn't go for all monitors, Tim, but it goes for a lot, right?
Yes.
So it's not everyone, but several of them do. Based on your description, it sounds like you have a newer digital monitor. Great job checking the continuity back to the main chassis. At this point, you basically narrowed down the issue to the control board itself. We'd suggest trying to replace it, if you can find a replacement. You can also try checking the buttons/pots with your multimeter to see if they're functioning properly. And Tim, what I have here is a D9200, which Tim actually wrote back and said that's what he had. So,
okay.
I mean, the mode button is very common on this monitor. When he said mode button, it's the first one that came to mind. So this is a Wells Gardner D9200 board, and this is the same one he had. And after talking with Tim, he was able to get another control board, and now it is working.
Okay.
So there you go. So he is in good
was
shape.
the board.
Yeah, so the mode button would work, but the rest of them wouldn't, which tells us those buttons are kind of cheap.
Yeah.
And so,
Very
like you
cheap.
mentioned, Tim, you could have jumpered them.
Right.
But that's a big pain.
Yes.
To jumper all of those. I wouldn't want to do it.
No.
And so it's easier if you can find a replacement control board altogether just to do that. But if you couldn't do that, you could replace the individual buttons if you had to. They are cheap and they do wear out over time. But in Tim's case, he was able to find a replacement control board, and he is back up and running, Tim. So
Good
we're
deal.
glad for that. Thanks for giving us the update, Tim. And we're glad that you got your D9200 back up and running. And good luck with your future projects. And hopefully you won't have to talk to us about anything else in the future. But if you do, we'll be here for you. So. Okay, Tim, I'm going to jump over to the live chat. Jumping General says, I have a POW game. When I plug in the game, the screen is all blurry. Is this likely a bad cap issue or touch up the solder? Also, lots of reds during gameplay. Okay, so, Tim, we have a blurry screen. What's the very first thing we're going to go to?
Well, we're going to check the flyback and the focus on it.
Right.
The flyback itself has a focus button. A lot of times it's just out of focus. That's the first thing we're going to check. If you've adjusted your focus and it just will not focus in, most of the time it's not a cap. If there's bad focus, usually has to do with your flyback.
Okay, you just updated Tim. He says it takes 15 minutes and then the screen clears up.
Okay. Well, then that is true. Now we're going. Now he is right. You probably do have a cap issue then.
Yeah.
That is causing that.
So we have issues in the high voltage section. What's basically happening is that it sounds like your flyback could still be dying. Okay,
Right.
it could be that your flyback is dying a slow death that happens and it starts to get blurry over time. But it can also be the power getting to the flyback is just taking a while to get up to full. Okay,
Right.
and if that's the case, a lot of times it's because you have some caps in there that are taking a while to charge up before they release that power back to the high voltage section of your monitor. And so in that case, like Tim mentioned, you may want to try the cap kit first. Okay, especially in the power supply section to make sure that we're getting good power through there. And then if we do replace the caps on the board, make sure you get the filter caps too. Very important. Make sure you get all the entire cap kit for this because it could be a filter cap issue. Once we've done the cap kit, if we're still having that blurriness, then we probably need to start looking at the flyback, right?
Probably
Tim?
so.
So there you go. So Jumping General, hopefully that answers your question. Good luck with that POW there. And let's see. Oh, Current Photograph says Newport Beach is nice.
Yes.
So I have not been there, Tim. Is it nice?
That is very nice.
There you go. So I know that you'll be going, like Tim mentioned earlier, if you missed it, he's going to California pretty soon. So
Probably end of July if things work out. June. End
Okay.
of June. And we'll talk more about two other trips in we've got Amarillo and Sioux Falls, South Dakota. So I'm going to be doing a lot of traveling in the next month.
well, you see, and the cool thing about Tim traveling is whenever he sends me pictures of all the arcades he's been to. Because, obviously, Tim, we're going to talk about one you went to this past month.
Sure.
So it's always fun to see your pictures from the different arcades around the country. And so we hope that you'll bring us back a lot of photos from your travels.
It's always fun to meet and see different arcades and go to different places. And it gives me something to do at night. It's always fun.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Chime in here, Tim. Current Photograph says, hey, guys, I've been looking into a 4-player cabinet kit and find they are drilled for Sanwa or HAP. Is one better than the other? Preference is really what it comes down to. So, Tim, I grew up in the 90s, and Tim grew up in the 80s. And if you grew up on coin ops from that time, most of them had HAP controls on them.
Correct.
And so if you are somebody who likes a traditional control, HAP is good. But a lot of fighting game people, if you're into that community, really like the Sanwa sticks. They're very responsive. They're very fast moving. And so if you're somebody who may be more into that style of play, then you may want to get you some Sanwas. I've heard good things about both. For me personally, Tim, it's always going to be a Hap joystick.
Yeah.
So
it's always nice when they're new anyway.
Exactly. Sanwas are good too, though.
Sure.
So,
anything new is going to play pretty good.
Absolutely.
Should.
Question from Nate. What would cause a Carnival to lose sync after a few hours of being on? It's on for about 8 hours a day every day, but after the 7th hour, it stops syncing. Resetting it resolves the issue. So basically, it's in sync, and then all of a sudden it goes out of sync. So first thing we would do is make sure that you've got all of your hold adjustments and everything properly set. So when it goes out of sync, you may try to adjust the monitor at that point to make sure that, to see if you can figure out what's going on. If it continues to stay out of sync, though, Tim, could be time to maybe do CapKit or something else.
Yeah,
right?
It's probably time to do some monitor repair on it. I mean, there's an outside chance that that's a pretty long time. If it was the power supply, I would suspect that it would fail before then.
Sure.
So I would probably suspect that it's a monitor and just older monitor where it's just not able to produce long 16-hour days or whatever like it used to could. So probably a good time to do a CapKit on it.
And another thing to check, though, would be your main power supply voltage as well. When the game goes out of sync, how is your main power supply voltage? Carnival, Tim, is a very power-hungry game. And so whenever your monitor goes out of sync, the question is, are you still getting good voltage from the power supply at that point?
Yeah.
So if you're not, you may want to turn it up a little bit just to see if that makes a difference, because obviously weak power getting to your game board is going to mean weak power getting to your sync wires and to your sync and everything else in your monitor. So
yeah, the time to check it, like John's saying, is when it's messing up.
Correct.
So check it at that time, and if you're still able to reset it and get it back, I wouldn't fear that too much. Just go ahead and check a few things while it is out of sync.
Absolutely. Nate says, the next day I have it on a timer and have it set on 3 hours off for an hour, on for 3 hours, and so on. But every single night, just about the hour, it turns off. For the night, it loses sync. So yeah, I mean, it could be time to just rebuild the monitor and do the CapKit like Tim mentioned. But when it does mess up, check the main power supply too. Make sure that your board is still getting good voltage. Again, Carnival, super power hungry game. So you want to make sure, in fact, you may want to even turn the power supply up a little bit past maybe to that 5.1 range or a little bit below that, just because it does require a little bit more, little extra power from some other games.
And also would worry about how hot your cabinet is getting for that long a period of time. It's almost like you can set your watch by it. Make sure that you got your fans working, it's as running as efficiently as possible too.
Absolutely, because the heat will kill power supplies, monitor chassis, and everything else. So you may want to throw an extra fan in there, or if you have a fan that's not working, get it working. It can make a big difference in the longevity.
My guess would be monitor, though.
Absolutely. Joe says, I can't imagine Tim walking into an arcade. Kind of like when the food inspector shows up at a restaurant. Well, that's funny, Tim, because you're basically that too, right?
That's what I usually do, yeah.
So you're kind of both. So, here's the thing. When we walk into an arcade, we're just there to play.
Right,
I'm not there to
time.
pick apart people. I mean, I don't tell you, oh, you need to fix that, you need to fix that. I mean...
No, I notice stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I notice when stuff isn't working correctly or whatever, but I also notice the good. I'm like, man, I told you, well, the last month, if you remember watching the other one, I was so impressed with how clean all those pinball games were. I can't even imagine cleaning that many pinball games every month. Those were some very clean, and everything was working really good. So it can work to the advantage too, John. It works good both ways. Right?
Absolutely. So we appreciate a lot when people put in the time to keep their games clean, to keep everything up and running, because it is a big undertaking to do. Even if you've only got 2 or 3 games, it's a big undertaking to keep them all working. And so
most of the time I'm just there to play games though, and I'm having a good time. Nobody knows I'm incognito most of the time.
Absolutely. So there you go. I don't know why we're getting the flipping in the video. I'm going to have to investigate. We'll figure that out. I need to figure that out, guys. Sorry about that. Nate, new power supply, recap monitor, new fan inside. It's just odd that it lasts hours up until and stops syncing. Yeah, so new power supply and recapped at this point. It almost sounds, to me, I'm almost leaning board issue at this point.
Could be.
But again, I would check your power supply after you go out of sync just to see.
And maybe, like John was saying, maybe just tweaking it by turning it up a little higher than normal. Not way out of range, but like at the 5.1. that may help a lot too.
And the B plus voltage on the monitor. So check that whenever you're getting the out of sync too. Make sure that it has not fallen out of range. Because if the B plus voltage is falling out of range, it's very common for sync issues to occur. So you may check that. Wait for it to mess up and then do all your tests. Would be the point. So test the voltage, test the power at the monitor, test the B plus voltage at the monitor. Make sure all that stuff is good. Big time.
Keep us informed. That's kind of a puzzling one even to me. I would really like to know.
Absolutely. Robbie J, how do you know when it's time to rejuvenate a monitor versus recap?
If the monitor's more than 5 years old, it's always time to rejuvenate it. That's not going to hurt. It's not, well, I know some people you can overdo it, but if you have a rejuvenator, I would probably always try that first.
Okay.
It just makes sense.
Now, if you're missing a color completely,
Yeah.
That's probably, it can be a tube issue. It can be. It's a tube issue 15% of the time. It's a chassis issue 85% of the time. So you need to make sure that you're checking if your colors look faded and muted and there's no adjustment that you can do to really fix that, you may be looking at a tube issue. Okay, if you're missing a color, probably chassis issue. But we're looking for muted colors that we can't adjust out. If we're getting that, probably time to look up a tube. So there we go. Who needs cable TV when we have Arcade Repair Tips TV? I appreciate all your help from Jumping General. Of course, we're here to help you in any way that we can. Dan, like I said, we helped him fix something 13 years ago when he's here. So, I mean, some of you guys have been long timers. And it's lasted this long. Look at that. So, some of you guys are long timers here. We appreciate everybody, and we especially appreciate those of you who have hung in with us. Tim, you got to remember, we have people who started listening to us and reading our content when they were kids, and now they're full-grown adults.
Right.
Which is mind-blowing. Of course, when we started this, I didn't have kids, and now I've got kids. And so, I mean, it's amazing how far we have come. So, there you go. Tim, let us continue on with our questions here. And the next one is from Todd. And Todd says, hello, I recently moved into a home and the sellers left a sit-down console. I'd really like to get it to work so I can play the games. I played when I was a kid with my son. When I power it on, it just makes a high-pitched sound and nothing shows on the screen. They did leave a manual, but it seems to assume some knowledge of the unit as it talks about dip switch settings, but doesn't have any photos in the manual to show where those dip switches are located. Below are some pictures of the unit. Any idea on how to troubleshoot fix this? I really appreciate any help you can provide. Thank you, Todd. So, Tim, Todd inherited a cocktail, and we're about to see what this cocktail looks like. Look at this.
I was going to say, how cool is it? You know, it's always fun. I moved a lot when I was a kid. Every time we'd move, somebody always leaves something behind.
Oh, yeah.
Might be a rake or something, but you always got something inherited or something they forgot or something hidden. But who leaves a video game behind? That's pretty cool.
Well, right? It was not working.
Right.
And they probably didn't want to move it.
Right.
I mean, you know how it is. It's like pool tables. My aunt and my uncle got a pool table because the neighbors were moving and they didn't want to move it.
Yeah.
Right. Pool tables are heavy, right? But you can move it next door. That's easy. Moving it across the country, that's hard. So,
there you go.
But
so it's
Todd,
got a multicade. Yeah.
It's a multicade. It's got a nice a CRT in it. See that?
Okay.
I mean, it hardly looks like it's got any burn on it. It looks like almost new. You can see the control board here, Tim. You can see that has like an ATX style power supply, and it looks like it has almost brand new controls there. It does seem to be modeled after a classic Midway style cabinet, if it's not actually a Midway style cabinet. So Tim, he plugs it in. He's just getting this high pitched squeal. That's it. So where can Todd start in order to get this thing up and running?
Well, you got to open it up to see what it's about. And so we have shot some videos on opening up and working on troubleshooting a cocktail cabinet.
So let me stop you just real quick. Todd calls this a sit-down console. Todd, we typically call these cocktails.
Right.
Okay, cocktail cabinet. And so when you're looking for the video, we have a video on opening a cocktail cabinet. Okay.
Right.
I know you may look for opening a sit-down cabinet. If you do that, you may not find it. So I want to tell you, look for opening a cocktail cabinet. Watch that video because that's going to help you out immensely. Tim, continue.
Now that it kind of said it had a pitch or a high pitch or a squeal, that's pretty indicative of a bad power supply. So we're always going to start at power. We call it the ASAP approach, where we're going to follow the power coming in and see where it goes and if it continues or stops. So check it going to the power supply. Make sure nothing come unhooked or anything simple like that. Then check your power supply. Make sure that it has voltage coming in We have some videos. It sounds like he's pretty new, but we have a lot of videos on how to do this stuff, on how to check a power supply. So you would check it with you'll need a multimeter in order to do this. And then we want to make sure that we have good voltage coming in and that we've got good voltage coming out. After that, if the power supply is good, then we probably would suspect the monitor next, or question if the game is what we call playing blind. It doesn't sound like it's playing blind at all. So before I jump to the monitor, if the power supply was good, now I'm suspecting a board, and I would really check all the wiring and so forth. It's probably got a 60-1 or something in it. Those are cheap boards, so if it needs to be switched out or bought a new one, you can get one for, less $50 or less. Those are some places that I would start. But realistically, getting it opened up and getting in there, there's a lot of stuff that you can see, or you take us some better pictures of the inside. Maybe we can help you troubleshoot a little bit further. But you got to get in there. The manual will help. Learning those terms, I know that it may be a little Greek to you at first, but we have videos on most of those things, like how to set dip switch settings. And so there, if you'll watch our video, I bet you can easily find them on that little bitty board. Mm-hmm. So if you'll take those key terms, do a search on our site, you'll find a video or something that will help you with that. And I think that we may have to get a few questions going with you in the future. I don't know if we have enough right now to determine. But thank you for writing in. I think it's cool. Still blows me away that you kind of inherited it by getting moving into a new house. So what a great find. We're here for you, and we would like to help you more. Let us know how it's coming with it.
And Tim, I'll go ahead. You basically took the words right out of my mouth, so I'll just go ahead and put up the outline scene here. In order to do any kind of troubleshooting, we are going to have to gain access to the inside of the cabinet. While this game looks pretty new, the design seems to be based off of the classic Midway-style cocktail tables. See our video on opening a cocktail cabinet for more information. We already said that, Tim. So, yeah. So, I mean, here's the nerve-wracking thing, is that to unlatch the top, you have to get your hand pretty darn close to the monitor tube.
Right.
and if you're not happy with that, it can be a little nerve-wracking if you're not experienced with that. So just be careful. Most cocktails will put a shroud over the monitor tube there to make sure that you can't actually touch it. But not everyone will. So you may want to look up in there with a flashlight just to make sure that you can see those latches. And then once you unlatch them, you should be able to just fold it down on those hinges. Now, once you gain access to the inside, first order of business will be to check the power with the multimeter. Tim mentioned ASAP. Always start at power. Let's make sure that you have the AC voltage coming from the wall and through the cabinet. Also make sure that your board is getting the correct DC voltage from the power supply. Like Tim mentioned, probably a power supply issue or a game board issue. If your power supply is good and your game board's just not getting power, or it's just not coming on, you could probably replace it with a 60-1 if it's not a 60-1 already for $50 or less. So same thing with the power supply. Power supply is probably close to that. Tim, this looks like an ATX style power supply, so you're going to need to, when you get your multimeter, you're going to need to put your red probe into one of the pins with a red wire typically coming out of it for 5 volts, and your black probe into a black wire pin, so that way you can check to see how much voltage is coming off your power supply. Tim, it also looked like that power supply had a fan on it.
Yes.
So if the fan is not running, that could give you an indication as to whether or not the power supply is working as well. Not necessarily, but it is definitely a good thing to look for. Tim, did we cover everything for Todd? Anything else?
I think we're about done.
Okay, sounds good. So Todd, hopefully answers your question. If you need any additional help, feel free to contact us back. And good luck getting your free cocktail cabinet back up and running. Tim, nothing beats free as far as price goes.
Can't beat the free.
That's right. Free's my favorite price. So for sure. I'll take a lot of stuff for free. And this is why my house looks so cluttered, right here. So actually, we're doing really good with that. We've been cleaning up, Tim.
I was
about to say, the piles are smaller. I need to, I have a couple of arcade one-ups that need to make their way over to your house.
Yeah, okay.
So, that needs to happen at some point. But anyway.
There's always room for those.
Exactly, there you go. Okay, Tim, well, we're to the part of the show where we do our quick question and answers. And so what we do in this section, guys, is we do 3 rapid-fire questions to Tim, and then Tim will answer those in a rapid-fire way. And so we will throw those at him real quick. So, Tim, let me go ahead and bring those up so we can discuss them. So we have Peter first. He says, my Asteroids Deluxe is getting fuzzy on one side. Any ideas? So, Tim, Asteroids Deluxe, vector monitor, so we'll talk about that. Andrew, I'm told I need or repair a new chassis for my Time Crisis 4. Do you sell or repair them? What's the cost? Thank you in advance. And then so Andrew, Time Crisis 4 monitor repair. David, I have a Time Crisis arcade game. Sometimes the screen does not register the gun approximately 2 inches from the left side. I cleaned the screen and it appears to work better, but now it stopped working again. Do I need to adjust the brightness and the contrast? So David has a Time Crisis. Left side's not registering. Do we need to adjust brightness and contrast? So let's do this again. Peter, Asteroids Deluxe, fuzzy on one side. Andrew, Time Crisis 4, chassis repair. David, Time Crisis, gun not registering on the 2 inches from the left. And do I need to adjust my brightness? So Tim, let's take these one at a time. Let's take Peter first. Peter, out of focus just on one side of this Asteroids Deluxe. Right. What needs to happen?
Could be a focus or more likely a convergence issue. Try adjusting the focus adjustment and then maybe making sure that you may need to mark where the rings are now so that you can get back to where you are, but you may need to adjust them a little bit to get it more into focus, especially because it's in one area. That's what makes me think that.
Yeah, and you may have to adjust the entire yoke, like Tim mentioned, just depending on what the issue is. Andrew, what about a monitor repair for this Time Crisis 4, Tim?
Well, we don't offer repair services or monitors, but we have some people on our page that definitely do. One is usually here in the chat room. I don't see him here tonight. Paul Duray. Is very good, paulsmonitors.com. I would definitely contact them about sending it in, and they can, what you do is take yours off. We have some videos on how to do that. Let them fix it and send it back to you, and then you will reinstall it and adjust it, and you should be good to go.
He also asked about an estimate of repair cost. What do you think, Tim?
Anywhere from the lowest, probably $75 to maybe $200.
Okay, and it may be more than that, just depending on the monitor model and all that kind of stuff.
What parts it needs.
Exactly. And then we had David, Tim, with the with the Time Crisis, that only the 2 inches of the screen was not registering on the left side. What about that?
Right. So he can. Yeah, he's a good start where he's at. I would definitely open up those guns and I would look at them and make sure the wiring and everything. But he could watch our video on troubleshooting light gun issues, and that'll probably go in a lot more detail. Several things that it could be. But if he'll watch that video, I'm sure that he'll get some good tips that might help him.
Now, he mentioned brightness and contrast. Are those two things you'd recommend him
For
do?
sure. Those are the two things that I would definitely try next. And just turning up those, even just a little bit, can make a huge difference.
Sounds good. So there we go, guys. I'm going to go ahead and put up the scene here so you guys can see them. So Peter had the Asteroids Deluxe. It could be a focus or convergence issue. Try adjusting the focus adjustment to see if that helps. You may need to modify the yoke or the rings on the tube as well. So you may have to shim up the yoke. You may have to turn or adjust the yoke. You may have to adjust the rings, like Tim mentioned as well, in order to get that focused on that one side. But hopefully between adjusting the focus and adjusting the rings and the yoke, you'll be able to get that dialed in. Andrew, we do not repair or sell monitors, but we do have several people we recommend. You can see our monitor repair services and information heading on our resources page at arcaderepairtips.com/resources. And we do want to mention our friend Paul Duray at paulsmonitors.com, who does quite a bit of monitor repair. Now, Tim, he does not do all monitors, and Atari Reproductions 4 probably has a newer monitor in it. So you may want to check with Paul, make sure that he can fix whatever it is you're going to send in. If not, we have several people who can do it too on our resources page, like we mentioned. Chad at Arcade Cup is a big name, Tim, that a lot of people recommend. We have several others there too who can fix it up if he can't. So, and then, Tim, we had David with the Time Crisis. Good next step, let's try the brightness, right? Brightness and contrast adjustment, let's do that. Make sure you also check out our post and video on troubleshooting light gun issues. Some great information there, like Tim mentioned. So, Tim, did we cover everything?
I think so.
Okay, so we'll leave it there. So hopefully Peter, Andrew, and David, that will answer your questions. If you have any additional things that you need to tell us, or comments, questions, other things about your issues you'd like us to address, please let us know and we'll try to help you out further. Okay. Oh, Joe says he has an ATX in Raleigh, North Carolina. If he wants a free one, so there you go.
Nice.
So and that is for Todd. So Todd, if you're looking for a new power supply and you're near Raleigh, North Carolina, Joe has one for you. So there you go. You never know when you're going to need it. It's good to keep around. So let's see. Okay, Tim. So we already talked about you've been traveling.
Yeah.
And so you were traveling, and you sent me some pictures.
Well, yeah. A lot of times I'll go to a classic arcade or bar, and there is one in El Paso that I would love to go to. It's called Rubik's.
You went there last time, right?
I did, but this time I was literally about a half a block from Dave & Buster's.
Okay.
So I actually wanted some wings one night, and they got good food.
They do.
So I thought I'm going to go and see what newer games, if there are anything that's coming out new. And I took a picture of a few that I thought were kind of cool that you may not know that are there, or you may have played, and get your thoughts on them.
Okay, Tim, I'm going to go ahead and throw up the slide here so everybody can see. Now, he took a picture of the outside. I love it when he does this because that lets me know where he's at. So Tim won't tell me where he's at. He's like, he'll just take a picture. And so he sent me the Dave & Buster's. Like, you're at Dave & Buster's. I know that one. So, Tim, it looks like we've got a couple of games here. That is a Wicked Tuna and a Rampage, right?
Yeah. So kind of a fishing game that looked kind of interesting. And of course, Rampage, we all know. And we've seen it before, but I thought that was a really big one. Dave & Buster's always has these huge games. That one looked like a lot of fun to play, and kids were playing it. I like the guy with his baby sitting up there.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I actually got to play Wicked Tuna. I went to... excuse me. I went to Dave & Buster's in Frisco, and they had Wicked Tuna. Took my son there in March, and we got to play Wicked Tuna. It's actually pretty decent.
It looks like
so
a
it's
fun
like
game.
It's like a normal fishing game. I mean, you know, except it's a little bit more. It's a little bit more advanced. You know, it's got some cooler graphics and things. So what else we got here, Tim?
We had the Hot Wheels, and let's see, what's the middle one?
That is Minecraft Dungeons.
Yeah, Minecraft Dungeons, and then this one was kind of like a roller coaster simulator. You see, it's a big ride where you had to have an attendant over there, and they set you down there, and it actually goes up and down and kind of drops and does some things.
That's the VR one,
Yeah,
right?
the VR one. So that was kind of cool.
So, YouTube Punk says Dave & Buster's frowns on photography. They asked me not to when taking pictures of their classic arcade games. You know, I mean, I understand that to a certain extent. Tim, obviously, they didn't have any problems with you taking these pictures. I mean, you know, I guess I'd have to give them the old, you know, I own this place kind of thing.
Right.
I own a lot of stock in Dave & Buster's. Were these all raw thrills? I don't think they're all raw thrills.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I don't think so.
I don't think so. These are just some, like I said, games I haven't seen before, and I haven't been in this. You know, I usually go to classic arcade, so I thought these were kind of fun.
So I saw
to see what else is new.
I saw Hot Wheels at Frisco. I did not get to play it, but it looked really fun.
It did look fun.
So I wish I would have played it. I did not get a chance. And then this one, Tim, I did get to play as well. This is Dodgeball, right?
Okay, right. Where you actually throw a dodgeball, a real dodgeball, at targets and stuff. And so what do you think about that? It was kind of fun.
It is fun. So me and a buddy played it probably back in... earlier this year, we went up there for like a trip to the National Video Game Museum, and I got to play Dodgeball. Dodgeball is fun. So it is a really fun game. Like you said, you hit the targets with the dodgeballs and everything. And when you're playing against somebody, it's even more fun. I mean, just like most games are. And so it is a really fun game. I really like Dodgeball quite a bit. But yeah, these are just some of the ones that you saw. Tim, was there anything else that you saw at that Dave & Buster's that you thought was interesting?
there was probably a dozen others, but most of them were games I had seen before. I tried to pick ones that I wasn't familiar with. I thought, well, these are pretty new. So that's kind of where I just took a few pictures like that. Overall, was really fun. I didn't even play much because I was really hungry and I wanted to eat. And I was just enjoying kind of watching some kids play and just kind of saw what was attracting them and what was it today. And you saw most of the games had a lot of lights, a lot of interaction, but they also had an axe throwing game. You know, they had
the axe throwing one is cool too.
Yeah, they had that one. They also had the one with the Angry Birds. It was so interactive games that also kind of interactive, half video game, half interaction. I think those are kind of cool, but just was different this time on this trip. A lot of times I love to highlight some classic games that I love to play. But I like all games, so it was a good trip. It was a clean, well-kept facility and good food.
That is one thing about Dave & Buster's. I always feel like they do a good job with the cleanliness.
I do,
They're usually clean. Their games are usually always working.
Yeah.
Very rarely do I ever see a down game at Dave & Buster's, which says a lot about them. And so, good stuff. And YouTube Punk says they just knew who you were. They didn't want that smoke, Tim. You know, they didn't want the smoke.
Well, I don't know about that. I think they were just, they saw me as hungry guy, and they were trying to sell me food and stuff.
They're always trying to upsell there.
Yeah,
that's for sure. So I love Dave & Buster's. Great place. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't matter where it's
we do inspect them, and I've got to do one in Florida. It was a really good experience.
You see, they also knew you were an inspector, I guess.
That may be. They might have been hiding. I think I might even have my shirt on. I didn't even think about that.
Oh, there you go. They're like, oh, he can take pictures because he's going to report them back to the home office.
Right.
So there you
they
go.
knew they were good.
There you go. Well, we're glad you had a good time in El Paso going to Dave & Buster's, and we look forward to more pictures very soon. So there we go. Now, Tim, let's get into the news portion of our discussion, whatever you want to call this, of our live show. And Tim, this article. So we posted this.
Huge news.
And it was huge news. Not only was it huge news, Tim, Atari retweeted our tweet on this, which was pretty cool.
I think so.
So, absolutely. So, here we go, guys. And we actually named it the title of this episode. Atari has partnered with Retro Arcade Remakes to offer reproduction PCBs. And, Tim, if you would have told me in 2023 that Atari was going to make arcade boards again, I would have told you are freaking nuts.
All right.
But here we are, it's 2023, and Atari is making reproduction PCBs. So let me read this real quick. Atari has partnered with Retro Arcade Remakes to offer reproduction PCBs. The Atari website states, these boards use the original bill of materials, follow the original schematic, and can be used to replace damaged original boards by using the original parts from these boards. In other words, the PCBs do not come populated with parts. Can I say that again?
Right.
The PCBs do not come populated with parts. This is just a silkscreened printed circuit board, no parts.
Okay.
Now it does have a cool little, it shows the marquee and it has the
thing.
instructions for the game on it and stuff.
Okay.
But Tim, each one of these boards is $245.
Right.
Okay. So I think this is big news. Okay,
Right.
and like I
Huge
said,
news.
Atari retweeted our tweet, which was awesome. Tim, this got more views than probably any other tweet that we've ever had, and we want to thank Atari for that because man, that was awesome. So very good. Bracer Show saying yes, they are not populated. No way I'm repurposing repopulating a fresh board. If I was desperate, Tim, I'd do it.
Right.
I'll be honest with you.
Yeah,
But,
it depends on the game. Maybe.
Joe says what's left of Atari. We're going to talk about that here in a second, Tim. But the first thing we need to do is debate.
Okay.
Okay, so are the new reproduction Atari PCBs worth the $245 price tag? Okay.
Okay.
So here we go. Everybody in the live show, of course, live show chat can chime in and let us know what you think. But right now, me and Tim are going to debate it. Are the new reproduction Atari PCBs worth the $245 price tag? Tim, we're going to do a reset. We're going to come right back. We're going to talk about it. Here we go. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the arcade debate for this evening. And tonight, we have some big news from Atari, Tim, that they are actually making arcade PCBs once again. It is 2023, and Atari is making arcade PCBs. But there are a couple of things about them. One, they come unpopulated with parts. So basically, you're just getting a printed circuit board. It is silkscreen with the marquee and the instructions for the game on the back, which is pretty cool. And right now, they're only offering 3, Tim, but they hope to offer more in the future. They are selling them for $245. So, Tim, that is the debate this evening. Are these new Atari reproduction PCBs worth the $245 price tag? Tim, what do you say?
I say, heck no. It's not even close. I mean, that'd be kind of a cool piece of nostalgia, but I don't know who is actually really going to take the time to. Nobody has the stuff at home to do that, except part by part, and that would literally take you forever. So maybe a piece of. It's neat that they're doing it, and I think they're kind of cool looking, but I see them hanging on game room walls. I don't see them going into games. What about you?
So, Tim, I'm going to take the opposite of you, of course, and I'm going to say, yes, they are worth the $245 price tag. Tim, if I said that Atari was going to make new arcade PCBs in 2023, you would say I was crazy. Here we are. They are actually doing it. Isn't that incredible in itself? Now, the price tag's a little on the high side, okay? But you gotta remember that this is more than just a board. This is a collectible. And not only just a collectible, but a fully licensed collectible. I mean, how many knockoffs have we seen, Tim? Lots of knockoffs out there. We are looking at a fully licensed piece of PCB. Fully licensed, okay? That means, but part of that price is included in that, okay? So, I mean, when you're looking at $245, I understand it's a little on the high side, but you're getting something that's licensed and works. Tim, supposedly. It actually works. I mean, now you do have to populate it, which is a big pain, but the fact that it actually works is pretty cool. Okay, so with that in mind, you still think it's too high? Yeah,
it's still a boat anchor or a ornament on my wall. Working is me plugging it in and playing my game. It's going to take a long time and a lot of parts. And where are you going to find all the chips and the different things? I would rather have a newer style board that they made with like a 60-1 that played all the Atari games. I don't care about the original board in that fashion unless it's populated and I can actually plug it in and play it. It's just too much work, especially for that price. it would take me forever to get my game up and going with that.
I understand, Tim, but here's the thing. I look at this as maybe just a first step. Maybe this is just Atari dipping their toe in what could be a new market, okay? So they don't know really what these things are going to go for. So what we're going to do is we're going to price them really high, but guess what? We can back down from that price, right? So we know that these are probably don't cost that much to actually make. And so $245, yes, it may be high, but it's also introductory. Have you noticed Arcade 1-Up does this model where they offer things for really high prices and then they slowly come down off that price, right? Tim, it's much easier to come down off a price than it is to come up, right? And so if you start at $245, there's no telling where they may drop it from there. As far as the population, I totally get that. I'm hoping that at some point they will be able to offer fully populated boards. But Tim, you and I both know that getting some of these chips is hard. Okay,
Yeah.
I mean, like getting some of these replacement chips, they're hard to find sometimes. Sometimes there is not a recent replacement for a chip that was made back in the 70s and 80s, Tim. And so it may be hard from a sourcing standpoint to get the parts that they need to populate these boards. And so I'm hoping that this is a first step. I hope they sell a ton of these things and it shows that there is a market for arcade PCB reproductions. That's what I'm hoping for. And I hope at some point we do get fully populated. Again, it's high, but I wouldn't be surprised at all to see them back down from that price. Okay, and if they came down, let's say they come down to 200. What do you think at a 200 or a 150 price range? What do you think? Would it be worth it to you then?
I think about $100. I'm gonna have a couple of them hanging on my wall just for looks.
And the fact that you actually can put your parts on this board and it will work. How many boards have we seen with broken traces? Now, we all know it would take you forever to move all of the parts from your board to this board. Totally get that, okay?
I get it.
But sometimes that's better than having to rebuild all the traces by hand. It just depends on the damage on the board, right? And so the fact that you even have this as an option is a good thing to me. Okay, the price is a little high right now. Again, start the price high, come down from there, right? Art of the deal, Tim. Art of the deal.
It's just a piece of art. That's all it is. What says a live chat?
That's right. So what do you say? Let us know what your thoughts are. If you're here with us live, you can let us know in the live chat. If you're watching this after the fact, you can chime in below in the comments section. We'd love to hear your thoughts about these reproduction Atari PCBs. Let us know, and we'll see you later. Thanks for watching tonight's arcade debate. Okay, Tom. Boom.
You did good. You did. You presented some good points there, Jonathan.
I'm trying.
Look,
I know the price is high, but again, you don't look. If I want,
when I first heard it, I was thinking brand new PCBs,
fully populated.
Yeah, and I was like, oh my gosh,
right?
I'll get every one.
Sure.
But
yeah, the fact that the parts are not on this board is a bummer.
I don't know what they expect the average person to do with that.
Yeah, exactly. Let's go over to the live chat real quick here, Tim.
We got some chatter.
Let's see. Joe says, what's left of Atari? Let's talk about that for a second. What's left of Atari is starting to move in a really good direction. I don't know if you've noticed this. We've had a lot of posts about them acquiring classic game rights. Have you noticed this? They just did one yesterday, I think, or today. They just had another post about acquiring more of their library back, licensing rights. This is smart, guys, for Atari. If they can get rights to reproduce things that were the older games that were popular on Atari consoles or even Atari arcade games, I mean, that's what people want right now.
Sure.
You see how hot that is. I mean, so if that's where they want to go. I think it is an incredibly smart move to do this. And so, yes, it is what's left of Atari, but maybe what's left of Atari is trying to rebuild Atari. You know what I'm saying? In a certain form or fashion. So let's talk about that. Geeklight, pass. Not gonna put pulls in a new board. What a ripoff. Okay, I understand that. Understand. Current photograph. I think that's fantastic. I wonder if they can make the chips in the USA. So here's the thing. Here's the kicker. I think we can figure out why they didn't populate these boards because, like we said, some of these chips are really hard to get. And so it may be about sourcing. If they can get to a point where they can find sourcing for all of the chips on these boards, we may get fully populated boards. I think it's just it may be a matter of time, hopefully. But at least they're giving us something right now. Let's see. Encore MPW. There's some other games not these titles, not for me. And I think that's a good point too, Tim. All the titles that they recently released are vector titles, Tim. Major Havoc, Gravitar, Black Widow. Those are the three that we have. Now, our friends at Arcade Heroes, Tim, are saying that they're going to do Warlords, Lunar Lander, Food Fight, and Millipede.
Okay.
Do those boards mean more to you?
Well, a simpler board that wouldn't be so hard and take years to populate, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. So
Like
those are 4
millipede.
more that are coming. Atari, if they can continue to get rights to this stuff, may release even more. So that's something to think about. Yes. Let's see. Rigzer Show. I could buy a broken board for half price and steal the chips off the board that you need. You definitely could. I mean, because we all know that traces will break over time, Tim. And so, like, boards get rough. Now, with that said, chips break too. And so we understand that you buy a broken board, not all the chips may be working. But if the vast majority of them are working and you transfer it over, it's not a bad increase there.
Right.
I mean, so you may actually come off better than buying a full one. A little bit of work on your part, though.
A lot of work.
Right. Joe says, not everybody can solder as good as Tim. I am terrible at soldering. My traces look like a snake swallowed a bowling ball. So, if that's the case, yes, I understand. Okay. But, I mean, not all of us, again, soldering is an art. You practice a little bit more, you may be able to get a little bit better at it. Current Photograph says, yes, I would get Asteroids.
Okay.
So that's a good one. That would be a good one, I think, to have. YouTube Punk says, if I had Bezos money, I'd get them all for wall hangers. Right. And I think a lot of people just get them for
I think it is cool look.
Yeah.
I think
it's
it would
cool
be
looking,
cool
for sure. Joe says, true. Took me 4 junk boards to get my own Embryon working perfectly. It may. Sometimes it does. They forgot the parts. That's what YouTube Punk says. Dan says, populated would be a dream, but agreed. At $100, I'd pick up something for a wall decoration above my cabinets. Joe says, John is the Red Bull jacked up version of Tim. Love you guys.
Yeah.
I try to have high energy.
He does have the energy.
I tell people I told people at one time I did a podcast, and they think we do NPR here.
Right.
Thank you for joining us today for this podcast. Like, they think we do NPR. I don't do NPR here, guys. You guys don't want to see me, like, slowly and very, like, monotonely tell these things, right? It's like, you don't want that.
You bring the fire, John.
Bring the fire. That's right. Got to have the energy, guys. So, and I drink a lot of coffee too, Joe. So that's fine. But anyway, so let me put this up here though, because this is important here, and that is that this is the story from Arcade Heroes. Okay, and it says, and from our friend Adam, it says licensed Atari PCB boards, Major Havoc, Black Widow, Gravitar, Warlords, Lunar Lander are now available. I did not see Warlords or Lunar Lander on the Atari website, but it says they are available. So I assume that they're coming very soon. Okay, Warlords is very popular.
Right.
There is a huge contingent of arcade collectors that love Warlords. And I played it, Tim. It's fine. I mean, I'm not a big fan, but I know a lot of you guys love it. Food Fight's another one, Tim, that a lot of people love. Food Fight. Understand. And Millipede, Tim, who doesn't love Millipede, really? You know what I'm saying? It's good stuff. So the fact that they're releasing all of these PCBs is great. I do hope at some point we can get them populated. Now, Retro Arcade Remakes showed a fully licensed Warlords cocktail remake at IAPA, okay? And they say it's coming along, and they expect full production around July, August, okay? And this was the prototype here that you see in the picture, but there's a full cabinet coming for those of you guys who are Warlords fans, an actual fully licensed reproduction.
Nice.
Pretty cool, okay? So if you're a Warlords fan, you should be very excited about this, okay? Just saying. So you can say the shell of Atari. Some people are saying that, but the shell of Atari is moving in the right direction. It really is. I mean, can we at least say that?
I think so.
Okay, I'm not going to say that that it's perfect, and it's not the same.
It was
company.
Shocking news and good news. I think it's awesome.
Right, it's not the same company it was, but the fact that they're moving in a direction to where they're. I mean, something like this, it helps collectors. It helps those of us who are arcade, preservationists that we want to preserve games. This product could just be the launching pad for something much bigger. And I hope it is. But Atari is swallowing up rights to their old games like Pac-Man swallows up Power Pellets, Tim. I mean, they're really going around and getting these licenses, and it's smart because we all know that's what we love about Atari. We love the games.
Right.
And so go around, get the license for the games that people love, and then remake them. You know what I'm saying? Because people love that stuff. And I really do think they're moving in the right direction. So there you go.
Good.
Okay. And thank you, Atari, for retweeting us. That was just awesome. So, I mean, they didn't put up the news themselves, really. I mean, it kind of released quietly under the radar. So
that was a good job of catching it and running with it, John.
Absolutely. That's what I do sometimes, Tim. So there we go. So anyway, I think it's good. I do hope we see fully populated PCBs, and I do hope we see more games coming very soon. And I reached out to Atari saying, hey, if you guys, we want an interview, just give us somebody to interview.
Right.
We want to talk to somebody.
That'd be awesome.
So I reached out to them. We'll see if we can get an interview, even if it's like an emails back and forth. I'm good with that. We'll just exchange some. Easy. Okay, let's see. Micah built a cocktail new version of Warlords in Space. There's a small documentary on YouTube. There you go. So, but again, if you're a Warlords fan, you can buy one. Don't have to put on all the work of rebuilding one yourself. So there you go. Speaking of remakes, Tim, or building old games, the Strong Museum of Play is doing something pretty cool. They're making the world's largest playable Donkey Kong arcade game. So the Strong Museum of Play in Rochester, New York will create the world's largest playable Donkey Kong arcade game. The game, which will stand nearly 20 feet tall, will be a prominent feature in our 90,000 square foot expansion opening on June 30th. The game will be approximately 370% bigger than the original and available for guests to play.
How fun.
Pretty cool. Thank you, Nintendo of America, for providing input on this project. And Tim, you can see the mock-up that they have there. Pretty darn big.
Yeah.
I think it's cool. And it's not the whole cabinet, as you can see. Kind of cuts off right around where the coin door is. But still, 20 feet tall, pretty big. So, but I think this is exciting news, Tim. I've always wanted to go to the Strong Museum of Play. If I'm ever in Rochester, New York, I really want to check it out.
I've been there.
Like a cool
maybe
place.
I'll go back.
Yeah, absolutely.
I didn't even know it was there.
Yeah, you should go check it out. It's got some cool stuff there. But Tim, it'll definitely be worth checking out for this big Donkey Kong.
Heck yeah.
So there you go. Let us continue. Arcade 1UP announced the Fast and the Furious Deluxe cabinet release, Tim. Mm-hmm. So this is interesting because we haven't seen Arcade 1UP do anything this new, I don't feel like. The newest thing I think we've gotten out of Arcade 1UP is what? Blitz, maybe?
Maybe.
Is that the newest thing? I was trying to think if there's
it's
anything.
mostly been all classic.
Marvel vs. Capcom 2?
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit newer than that. But Fast and the Furious is like, what, late 2000s? Mm-hmm. 2007, 8, 9.
Yeah.
So, very interesting. And it is a Raw Thrills cabinet. It's a Raw Thrills design game. The Arcade 1UP has announced that they are releasing a deluxe cabinet based on the Fast and the Furious series of arcade games by Raw Thrills. The cabinet features a 17-inch LCD screen, light-up marquee, 4-position gear shift, rumble wheel, faux coin door, and Wi-Fi leaderboards. But Tim, the big thing about this one, the new feature, is that you will be able to system link up to 4 cabinets.
How neat.
Okay, cabinets need to be on the same local network, cannot connect over the internet.
Nah.
And the price is $600, which is pretty standard for a brand new Arcade 1UP. Mm-hmm. Tim, what do you think about this, and what do you think about the system link option?
I think it's pretty cool. I mean, I think the price is right. I think it's a good price. It's interesting to see where they're heading. They keep, it's like they come out with a game a month almost. And so this is a pretty cool. It's not my favorite game. Nothing that makes me want to go out and buy one, but I'm sure somebody out there is really going to be really excited to have that in their home.
I think the system link is very interesting, Tim, because you could buy 4 of these things for $2,400, and it's exactly, you could all race each other, which is pretty cool. I don't know who's going to go buy all of those, but maybe this is just the first game they're going to do this with. I'd love to see them release a Cruisin' one that has Cruisin' USA, Cruisin' World, Cruisin' Exotica that does system link too, or Daytona, right?
Yes.
Oh man, Daytona would be awesome. So maybe this is just, maybe they decided, maybe they just decided that, okay, we're going to try the system link on something different, but we really just want to get it working so that when we release a bigger title,
yeah, it's kind of an interesting choice. When I would have probably picked Cruisin' or something a little earlier, they just jumped, they jumped 10 years and just, here's this one.
Yep.
I thought that was interesting.
Absolutely. So, I've played Fast and the Furious before. It's fun, Tim. Have you played it?
Yes.
Yeah, I've played it before. It's a fun game. So, again, it seems like an odd choice compared to the other stuff that they've released. But, still, the system link capabilities I think will be fun. And they are fun games. Raw Thrills makes good games.
Yeah.
They really do, guys. So, good stuff. And these 2 games that come with this, Fast and the Furious Drift, are no exception to that. So, pick it up if you guys are interested. I know a lot of you guys don't like Arcade 1UPs, but if you want something a little bit more modern, stand-up arcade, driving game for your game room, might be worth checking out. Let's see. YouTube Punk, wasn't Fast and the Furious a sit-down cabinet? I believe it was. They may have. I think they had stand-up versions too, though. Because usually they'll release the drivers in both. So they did have sit-down versions of it for sure. Rigzer Show, 8 cars only in the game instead of 23, and it's one game of drift gameplay, but broken up into 2 sets of tracks. It's watered-down version.
Interesting.
And they may have had to do that for the hardware. You know what I'm saying? The hardware is not that powerful compared to the arcade hardware for sure. So that may have been a hardware limitation. Dan, get one now. Pick up more if they're on sale on Black Friday or something to link them up. Great idea. Mm-hmm. So, Real Hammer Billy Lee, there were sit-down and upright versions. Yeah, and that's pretty common with all arcade driving games, Tim, because a lot of times you don't have the physical space for a sit-down one. So, yeah. So, Regular Show says, no likeness of Vin Diesel, and the game has drift mechanics. There is no original Fast and Furious gameplay. So they've heavily modified this to get it to work.
Totally get it. That's good.
Right, but still, the fact that they brought it home at all, pretty impressive. So. Tim, here's another story that hit pretty big with our audience. An NES cart with built-in Wi-Fi brings online multiplayer to a 40-year-old Nintendo console. Pretty cool. And Broke Studios actually retweeted us on this too, which is pretty cool. Developer Broke Studio is crowdfunding a new NES game on Kickstarter entitled Super Tilt Bro. The cartridge is a custom creation with a board that's been upgraded with an ESP8266 Wi-Fi chip, a Wi-Fi antenna, and an FPGA that allows an unmodified NES console to interface with the wireless hardware.
That's crazy.
It's amazing. The game itself looks like a streamlined recreation of Super Smash Bros. All of the Wi-Fi configuration happens within the game's own menu system because obviously the NES didn't have a Wi-Fi menu built into it. So literally, you pop the cartridge in, you have to hook the cartridge up to your Wi-Fi to play it. So
that's cool. Though.
And the only reason I like it is because it's super cool to use like new tech in an old an old game console. I mean, it's amazing to me. So the fact that this is even possible blows my mind. So. But I thought it was cool. We put it out there. A lot of you guys thought it was cool as well. Tim, the game looks fine, but I think the tech is really what sells it. Yeah, pretty cool stuff. And so I don't know. I mean, I think the game is pretty expensive if you do the Kickstarter on it. But I'd like to see it just because, man, it's kind of like it's just a cool thing. So nothing else. So. YouTube Punk says Super Wi-Fi Bros. Yeah, that's pretty much what it is. Joe says multiplayer versus Mario, and I will own that stuff. They may be able to do this with licensed games. Obviously, Tim, if they were going to do it with a licensed game, they'd have to get the license for it. So that's why they're probably creating
their own. If Atari, that's got the license for some stuff, were to create something like this in their Atari games.
Right.
And then resell the Atari games with Wi-Fi, and you could play cross-country against somebody. On combat or whatever it would be, Yard's Revenge or whatever you're playing.
Right.
This could be the future where somebody else could really take this idea and run with it.
Actual retro gaming on retro consoles with internet Wi-Fi play online multiplayer. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's amazing.
It's wild but possible.
Exactly, wild but possible. Exactly how to say it, Tim. Before we go into the next news nugget here, we have Nate who says, Random, I'd love to own the Raw Thrills Centipede game. I think it's Raw Thrills. I do believe it is Raw Thrills. That new Centipede, is it Assault? No, that's the Galaga games, Assault. Centipede, I know what it is. I've seen it.
It's like Centipede Revenge or something.
Something like that,
It's good fun.
It is fun.
Very fun. But you don't play like till you die. You get to like a couple of levels, then it wants you to pay again.
Yes, of course.
So even if you're winning, I'm thinking I'm doing awesome, and then it's like pay again. I'm like, wait a second, I didn't die.
Right. I think that can be modified.
Yeah.
Some operators really want to get their money out of it. It's expensive, I'm sure. So. Now, Tim, as far as news goes, that's about it. But we have some movies to talk about. Okay. Now, we already said we were going to talk about the Super Mario Brothers movie because me and Tim both saw it. But I saw another arcade-related movie, Tim.
I saw this one too.
And we talked about it a while back, but I don't think either one of us had watched it at that point. But Tim, I watched Willy's Wonderland, and it is on Hulu right now. If you guys would like to watch it, and I've got the link there, and I think it's also down below. So for those of you guys who don't know what Willy's Wonderland is, the imitable Nicolas Cage plays a quiet drifter tricked into a janitor's job at a condemned family entertainment center. Okay, the mundane task suddenly becomes an all-out fight for survival against wave after wave of demonic animatronics, directed by Kevin Lewis, starring Nicolas Cage, Emily Tosta, Beth Grant, and Rick Zeitz. Runtime is 88 minutes. Okay, Tim, let's talk about Willy's Wonderland here. So I actually did watch it through to its completion, which I didn't think I'd be able to do, but I was. So the first thing you should know about this movie is that Nicolas Cage does not say anything. He literally does not talk throughout the entire movie. Did you know that?
I did not.
Did you even notice that?
Not much, yeah.
No, he doesn't say anything.
Nothing.
Not a word.
That's crazy.
It's just him acting. And to be honest with you, he does a pretty good job.
Okay?
Because, I mean, all the characters that they put around him. Now, don't get me wrong. The people that are around him, the acting is not good. Okay?
Right.
It is B-movie.
It has a B feel.
Right. Yeah. So, but I tell you what, it is somewhat entertaining. And it's only 88 minutes. So, it's not like you're
You're wasting a whole
Exactly. You're wasting a lot of time on this, okay? But YouTube Punk says Five Nights at Nicolas Cage's. Yes, that's basically what it is. Five Nights at Freddy's meets Nicolas Cage. So the whole story is like, this murderer and his friends like run Willy's Wonderland, and then when they die, they inhabit these animatronic animals, right?
Something like that.
Yeah, it's something
I never
like that.
could
There's a
figure
story
out
there.
what the story was.
So Tim, I told you Nicolas Cage does not talk throughout this whole thing, and what he does is obviously these animatronic characters come to life and come after him, and he takes them all out. Okay. There are some kids who get hurt in this. It's a B horror movie. That's what it is, right?
Yeah.
It's bad. But Tim, was it at least like semi enjoyable for you? What did you think?
I was actually kind of watching it and getting into it. My wife looked at me and went, "This is the stupidest movie I've ever seen in my life. What are you watching this for?" And I think she made me change it. But I ended up watching it, and it was just kind of silly.
It's kind of dumb. Yeah, I mean, like when they show the kids like getting killed by the animatronics and stuff like that. I mean, it's pretty bad. Like the special effects and everything. Here's the thing about Nicolas Cage. Now, Nicolas Cage does a lot of movies. We know this, okay? And you'll notice that he's in a lot of these movies where he's the only star and everybody around him's kind of just not very good actors. But the thing is that it's really easy for a movie to get funding if there's a big star attached to it. So you attach Nicolas Cage's name to something, and that movie can get funded, like Willy's Wonderland did. And here's the thing: it doesn't have to make a lot of money as long as it makes back its budget or a little bit more. And what was the budget on this thing? Probably not much. And so it probably made it back. Just saying. So you can talk about Nicolas Cage like being in all of these bad movies and taking all of these gigs, but every time he attaches himself to a movie, that movie gets funded, he gets paid, and more likely it makes money. So it kind of works, right? I mean, it is what it is. So
I like this, like where he found the shirts and he puts the shirt
and
on.
Every time that he takes one out, he always gets messy and he puts on a new shirt. One of the coolest things about it was the pinball machine he was playing in the break room, or in the break area. I mean, I don't know how they I guess they made a custom machine.
I guess so.
Because it looks really good. So there's a Willy's Wonderland like custom pinball machine in the game that looks great. And so that's pretty cool. There are some arcade scenes in it, Tim. We should mention that. So I mean, you got some arcades, and of course you've got some different animatronic characters and things like that and all this kind of stuff. But the city, like, apparently, like, the little city makes a deal with the demonic figures.
The story just did not
to feed them. And so what they do is anytime a drifter comes into town, they throw them in there to clean the thing, and then, they're gone in the morning, except for Nicolas Cage, who comes out and just leaves, right? So, I mean, it is what it is. There you go. Current phonograph face-off and Nicolas Cage was awesome. YouTube Punk, I'm a Con Air guy myself. Love both those movies. Okay, Nicolas Cage is good. National Treasure is not bad. The National Treasure movies are pretty good. I know it's like low-rate Indiana Jones. Like, I understand that, but it's good. Okay, you like National Treasure?
Oh yeah, that's a good movie.
What are some other Nicolas Cage movies? Now, I have not seen Renfield, which is his new one, right?
I haven't seen it.
I have not seen that. I know it just came out on demand. I saw it when I was looking at other things, but I have not watched it yet. And people say he's pretty good in that. What was The Sorcerer's Apprentice? I watched that, where he plays like a sorcerer. That's pretty decent. Nicolas Cage is a pretty decent actor. And even in this, he doesn't say anything.
I did
He's
not
pretty
realize
good.
he didn't say anything.
He doesn't say anything.
Now I got to
the
go
entire
back
movie.
and watch it just
Watch
to see
it,
that.
and he does not say a word, Tim.
That's crazy.
Not a word. So, but Willy's Wonderland, if you've got 90 minutes to kill and you just want to kill it, it's worth your 90 minutes just to kill.
Yeah.
Now, but if you've got anything else to watch that first.
It's like...
So anything else to watch, you know, if
you can't go to sleep one night and you're just completely bored,
if Rocky 4 is on TV, watch Rocky 4 instead of Willy's Wonderland. So if a good movie is on television, watch that before you watch this.
Yeah, watch Con Air first.
Yeah, Con Air or The Rock. Welcome to The Rock. Watch that, or that's my terrible Sean. Let's see, Raising Arizona, Mr. Dwayne. There you go. That's a good one. What's the Peggy Sue one with him, right?
Oh yeah, he had all kinds of little romantic comedies too.
A lot of good stuff.
Yeah.
Golly. So I like Nicolas Cage. I don't care that he's attached to bad movies. I watch a lot of the bad movies. So there you go. Ghost Rider was the worst. Ghost Rider is not that bad. The second was actually pretty good. Okay. Like if you haven't seen the second Ghost Rider, the first one, The second one I actually enjoyed. So I mean, look, Gabriel Luna. If you saw him as Ghost Rider in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., he played a fantastic Ghost Rider, Tim. Okay, better than Nicolas Cage in that part. But the second Ghost Rider movie with Nicolas Cage, not that bad. So there you go. Okay, are we done with Nicolas Cage?
We're done with Nicolas Cage.
Second movie, which is the one we promised at the beginning, the Super Mario Brothers movie. So let's do that, Tim. The Super Mario Bros. Movie, as we mentioned, is now in theaters. Now, Tim, we mentioned last time, I rented out a movie theater to see this. We have a local AMC here. I am an AMC Stubs member, a stockholder in AMC as well. So we rented a movie theater. Mm-hmm. Okay, we did the private theater rental, and me and Tim and about 60 of my closest friends all went to a movie theater and watched this together, and it was really fun. And I tell you what, it's a really good movie. Mm-hmm. It's a good kids movie. Look, if you're looking for deep plot exposition, not your movie.
Right.
This is a kids movie. Mm-hmm. And as far as kids movie goes, pretty good.
But it had a lot of adult kind of jokes and not dirty or anything, but like, you know, stuff that my nephews wouldn't get, like when they got there and they said, the princess is not in this castle.
Yeah, exactly.
They didn't get it, but I laughed.
Little nod.
Right, little nod. So, you know, a lot of stuff like that.
So Jack Black as Bowser steals the show, in my opinion. He is so good. And Peaches, the song is fantastic. Somebody said that Dan said Bowser's Peaches. Yes. That song is fantastic. In fact, Tim, it's hit the Billboard Top 100. So we played it in the car quite a bit. But that's Jack Black's first song in the Top 100.
Wow.
And Tenacious D, right?
Wow.
Like people know Tenacious D, his band, but that's the first one he's had in the Top 100 ever. So I think he steals the show. Chris Pratt's voice is fine. Mm-hmm. I have no problem with it. Charlie Day as Luigi was good. Yeah. I had no problem with him. All the character, like the whole story and everything is fine. I
kind of like how he battles Donkey Kong, but then they team up.
Yes.
Yeah, that kind of stuff too. And all these characters are in it.
Yes.
You know, everything's in it. You know?
The Donkey Kong battle with Mario is fantastic. One of the highlights of the movie, in my opinion, and the way he gets the cat suit and then he, you know, and all that kind of stuff. I don't want to am I spoiling too much?
No,
spoiling too much.
I don't think so.
Okay, I don't want to spoil too much. He gets the cat suit, which if you've seen the preview, you already know. Let's see. There's a Mario Kart scene, which again, if you've seen the preview, you already know. That's pretty good.
My daughter keeps quoting the line that the star says. I can't remember what it is, but she thought that was the funniest part.
The Luma.
Yeah, the Luma. So, I was like, what?
The Luma was pretty dark.
Yeah. So. She was like, she thought that was the best part.
Yeah. There is a mid-credit scene where Bowser performs Peaches again. There's an after-credit scene that kind of alludes to the next movie, you can tell. Tim, this thing's made $1 billion.
Yeah.
And shows no signs of slowing.
Right.
And it deserves every penny. So it is good. If you're a Mario fan at all, you should see it. I don't care if you have kids or not.
Here's what was interesting. You know, because it was your birthday, I decided to take my nephews, which are big Mario fans.
Yeah.
And I knew they would like it. But my wife, of course, went along, who's not a huge video game or Mario fan, and she liked it. She was like, it was just a good movie. She was like, I really didn't even care. I was just going to eat some popcorn and be with you and my nephews, and she goes, I actually felt really entertained by it. So she liked it.
Yeah. And Peach has more, the role of Peach in this is a little bit different than what you normally get. So Peach is more of a independent. Yeah. And I think she sometimes is portrayed in the games, which I thought was a good thing.
Yeah.
And Mario had problems making it through the first little training course, which was fun. That's a nice, fun sequence there.
Yeah.
I was trying to think of what else. They come back to Brooklyn at the end and kind of have a big battle thing, and that was nice. I didn't really feel too attached to that. You kind of felt like that's the way it was heading, and then you know, I mean, it kind of wrapped it all up in a nice little bow. Worked out great. So overall, you know, a solid movie. You know, I don't know if I would rate it quite an A, probably a B+.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I do think there are some things they could have done better, but I mean, golly, it hit all the nostalgic notes really well, which is important to me. And the story is great for kids. Again, I saw reviews saying, "Oh, the story is just so boring." I'm like, "This is a kids movie. Great. It's a kids movie, okay? Kids love this stuff."
It had the Mario Kart involved in it.
Yeah, my son's favorite part is when Toad gets in his cart. Yeah. You know what I'm talking about? Like that's his favorite part. And when we saw it the second time, he was just waiting for it. He was so excited about that part. But it is fun. And,
you haven't seen it, especially if you have kids. You need to watch it with them. It's fun.
Yeah, and go to the movie theater because, guys, going to the movie theater is cool and fun. And you forget it if you haven't
done it.
My
5-year-old nephew, he literally can't sit still for more than 20 seconds. He sat the whole movie and just sat there watching with his popcorn, eating like that. We got through. I said, he didn't say nothing. I'm like, I don't know if he liked it or what. And I'm like, how was it, dude? And he goes, Man, that was the best movie I've ever seen in my whole life. He's probably been to 5, but
Yes.
you know, it's like for a 5-year-old, it was like he was so blown away he couldn't even talk.
Yes.
He had a blast.
And here's the deal. So I do this theater rental because I have a 5-year-old, and like Tim mentioned, 5-year-olds do not sit still through movies. Mine has started to figure it out because he's been to a couple of movies now. But like last year, Tim, we had kids running all around. But the cool thing about renting the movie theater,
They can let them run.
nobody cares.
Nobody cares.
Exactly. There's nobody there who's going to be calling me because it's all my friends and it's all their kids.
Right.
So it's like, it's like all of us are in the same boat. We all have kids. We all have things. It's like
Except for the one kid we figured it was in the wrong theater.
Oh, that's right. We had a kid come in and that was in the wrong theater. Oh my goodness. So my wife had to walk him out, and they did find his mom.
Yes.
So, there you go. But yeah, Dan, that's the part that my son likes. I'm not going to say it for the spoiler. But that's the part that my son likes. Is Toad's cart. So he loves that part the best. So I personally like when Donkey Kong got the power up there near the end. I thought that was pretty cool. So there was a lot of cool things, and you got to see the cat suit, the Tanuki suit, fire flowers, ice flowers. You got to see a lot of the power-ups.
I like how Mario hated mushrooms.
Yes.
He didn't like them and he had to eat them.
Right.
He's like,
You saw the big mushrooms, the small mushrooms,
Yeah.
like everything was in all the power. Like most of the power-ups were
underwater.
were
You
Yep.
saw everything.
So a lot of cool stuff in there is really neat. So
Watch.
If you're a big Mario fan, or even if you just have a passing fancy for Mario, obviously if you're watching our show, you're probably pretty big on video games. So with that in mind, you should go see the Mario movie while it's in theaters. It's a much better experience than bringing it home.
I think so.
You should go see it in theaters, and it's worth it. Go on like a Tuesday when all the tickets are cheap.
Yeah.
And go by yourself if you have to. It's worth it. So, Okay, Tim. Well, I think that wraps it up for this episode. I'll go ahead and put our contact information and things up here real quick. But before we do that, we do want to remind you that we want your arcade-related videos. If you want some free advertising for your YouTube channel, we're looking for people to submit short videos, 10 minutes or less, about arcade-related topics. You can send a link of your video to questions@arcaderepairtips.com, and our staff will review it. If we like it, we'll use it during one of our live show episodes. Make sure you put a plug-in for your channel so people will know where to find you. We look forward to seeing your submissions. And Tim, we've done this with several people's videos. This is a great way, guys, if you're looking to grow your audience, if you've got a YouTube channel that's maybe on the brink of being monetized, and you just want to maybe just need a couple more subscribes or views to get over there, then you can do that. But again, we'd love to promote your stuff. Send it to questions@arcaderepairtips.com. We'll review it, and if we like it, again, we'll put it on there and give you some free advertising. So, great stuff. Oh, Tim and Delusional just donated $20. Thank you,
Wow,
Delusional. It's awesome.
thank you.
So, hi, guys. Keep up the great work. You too, Delusional. Man, he has good content, guys. If you're not already checking out Delusional's Arcade here on YouTube, you should be checking it out for sure. But we want to thank you for the donation, Delusional, and make sure you check out his YouTube channel as well. Tim, people are always asking us to do more episodes than once a month. Guys, there's so many great arcade channels out there that put out content a lot more often than we do. You can check those out too. Delusional is definitely one of those. So there we go. And then, guys, we have our contact information as well. We have our general email address at questions@arcaderepairtips.com, questions@arcaderepairtips.com. And if you want to put live show in the subject line, we will definitely save it for the live show. Otherwise, we'll get to it when we can. But again, that's questions@arcaderepairtips.com. Definitely the best way to get a hold of us if you have an arcade-related question. And we have our YouTube channel, guys, and that's at youtube.arcaderepairtips.com. You can find all of our live show episodes there, and comments from the last live show will typically be covered on the next episode. So if you leave a comment on this live show, we will try to cover it in episode 60 or 76 coming up next month. Or if you're listening to the audio version of this live show, you may want to check out the after show, which we don't put on the audio podcast feed. And you can do that by looking up live show episode 75 on YouTube at youtube.arcaderepairtips.com. youtube.arcaderepairtips.com. Of course, everybody in the live chat knows that. And if you're watching this on YouTube, you know that. But again, for our audio-only listeners, check that out if you want to hear the after show or if you want to see video from this episode. And then we have our podcast feed, Tim, that contains our live shows, our interviews, question and answer podcasts, whatever kind of content that we put out will be found on the audio podcast feed, and you can find that on iTunes at itunes.arcaderepairtips.com. We have our Spotify page at spotify.arcaderepairtips.com and our Stitcher radio page at stitcher.arcaderepairtips.com. Or you can find us by searching Arcade Repair wherever fine podcasts are aggregated. Whatever your podcast app of choice is, maybe you use Amazon, maybe you use Pocket Cast, maybe you use, I don't know, the built-in Apple Podcast app, whatever you use for podcast. If you search Arcade Repair, you will find us. More than likely, we will be there. And if you would be so kind, please leave us a review on iTunes at itunes.arcaderepairtips.com. You can leave your 5-star reviews there. If you want to rate us 4 stars or less, please let us know what we need to improve. We're always looking for constructive criticism, right, Tim? About all sorts of things. So if you have some constructive criticism for us, give us an email, or you can leave those 5-star reviews on iTunes at itunes.arcaderepairtips.com. And then, Tim, we have our social media pages. We have our Facebook page at facebook.arcaderepairtips.com, facebook.arcaderepairtips.com, and our Twitter feed at twitter.arcaderepairtips.com, twitter.arcaderepairtips.com. And Tim, we have the same information pretty much on both websites, so it just depends on how you, whichever social media preference you have, but you can do it on either one of those. Again, Facebook page at facebook.arcaderepairtips.com, or our Twitter feed at twitter.arcaderepairtips.com. Now, Tim, I have unfortunate news that it sounds like the service that we use to cross-post our Facebook to our Twitter feed is about to start charging us money. Because apparently Twitter is starting to charge them money.
Right.
So I don't know how much longer we can keep the link between them. I may have to start physically posting on both platforms, but I am willing to do that for you guys because I love you guys so much. So, so there you go. And we do want to thank Mark, too, our community manager, for all of the contributions he makes as well. Mark does a really great job, especially on the pinball news. So if you see any pinball news, guys, a lot of times that's him. But we want to thank Mark for his contributions as well. But make sure you subscribe to us on our social media pages. We would greatly appreciate it. Tim, we just got another donation from Current Phonograph. $10.
Wow.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Current Phonograph, for your donation. We greatly appreciate you. And Tim, you have contributed a lot to the live show here, Current Phonograph, besides just the money with your comments and things, and we want to thank you for that as well. And Tim, we want to thank you for all the supporters who are long-timers, short-timers, however long you've been with us. We want to thank you for being here.
John, before we get any further, we haven't given away anything, guys.
We haven't. I guess we could. I don't know. Hang on. Let me get to the live chat real quick.
Okay.
Phaser58 says, thank you guys. Really appreciate your time as well as your expertise. Great show. Thank you.
Thank you.
Then we have Dan. Thanks for the troubleshooting tips and the great show. Thank you, Dan. YouTube Pun, K. Dell, hope you and your family are good. And we will wish the same to Delusionals Arcade as well. Hope you and your family are good. And to all of y'all out there, hope you and your families are good. We have summer coming up, Tim. That's exciting. End of the school year. So if you have kids, you're probably getting ready for that. We know how that goes. Tim, you mentioned giving away something. Should we do that?
Well, we always do, or we have.
We have been.
Yeah, so why not?
Okay, I'm with you. I do have something, and I just forgot about it up until the second that Tim said it. But I have a Pac-Man keyring. Nice. Pac-Man keyring.
It plays Pac-Man.
It does. Original sounds and gameplay. LCD screen, 4 directional controls, so you can control Pac-Man. It is has a little rip in the back, but I think it's still intact for the most part. If you would like to win this wonderful game keyring Pac-Man, you can do that by sending an email to contest@arcaderepairtips.com. Contest@arcaderepairtips.com, and make sure that you send your name, your address, and the code word.
Let's do Gonna Be May.
Gonna be May?
Yeah.
Like gonna be May.
May.
Okay,
Yeah.
3 words.
Gonna Be May.
Gonna be May.
It's a joke.
I understand.
Okay.
Yes, an in-sync joke,
Right.
nothing else. Okay, that's fine. So, send an email to contest@arcaderepairtips.com with your name, your mailing address, and the code phrase.
Gonna Be May.
Gonna
Hopefully
be
it's
May.
gonna be you.
Okay, there you go. So, if you want to win, again, contest@arcaderepairtips.com. Name, shipping address, gonna be May in there somewhere so we know that you watched the show, and somebody will get this lovely Pac-Man game keyring. So, there you go. Okay, and that's all we're going to do. We'll just do it once. So, Tim, we have the after show coming up. Again, reminder, if you're listening to the audio version of this, you will not get the after show. If you want to watch that, you will need to go to our YouTube page and look up episode 75 and fast forward to the end where we do the after show. If you're here watching live with us, you guys can just stay where you are for about 5 or 10 minutes, and we will come right back and you can watch the after show. The after show, guys, is very similar to the regular show, except pretty much any topic goes. So what topics are we going to be covering in said after show, Tim?
Well, I bet we're going to talk about some sports because there's been the draft happened.
Yes, draft.
Yeah, and there's some playoffs going on.
Yep. NBA, NHL playoffs.
Baseball started.
XFL championship game.
Right.
Okay,
we'll
we'll be
probably
talking
talk
about
about
sports.
some movies, some
Yep.
shows.
I watched 3 movies. And I'll tell you what those are. Shazam! Fury of the Gods, Creed 3, and Jesus Revolution on Tim's recommendation.
Okay.
So I watched those 3. I'll tell you what I thought about them in the after show. I've also been watching some TV shows. We'll talk about those as well. Tim, is there any TV show in particular you want to tease?
Yeah, I have watched so many it's almost hard to remember what I've watched because I just kind of. But
Back to back.
I will say this: that sometimes I get in the mood. There was a show that I watched 16 episodes in one day.
Oh my goodness!
and that was crazy just to stay and watch it. And so we'll talk about that in the after show.
Sounds good. Now, YouTube Punk over here says, give away an Atari PCB. Yeah, with all of that money that I got. I mean, look, I'm over here saying big things about $10 and $20 donations, guys, because that's big money to me, okay? So, obviously, Tim, with kids, I'm broke.
Maybe some broken ones.
Yeah, I was about to say, I used to have money, and I don't have money anymore. Yeah. So, that's kind of how it goes. That's why I have all of these. I used to have money.
I got one in college.
Yeah, you see, exactly. So... We broke.
Yeah.
It is what it is. Well, I want to find out what show Tim watched 16 of.
Uh-huh.
And I hope
episodes in one day.
And I also want to tell you guys about what I thought about some of these movies I mentioned, but you'll have to stay tuned for the after show for that. Now, if this is where you're getting off, guys, we want to thank you for joining us this evening for the live show. And we hope to see you next month. Is this June? Oh my goodness. June for episode 76. So we look forward to seeing you all there. Then if this is your first time watching, we always broadcast on the first Thursday night at 5:30 p.m. Central Time. So set your watch by it. Tim, if we ever change from that, we will let you know. We usually put out an announcement on our social media pages, but for the most part, first Thursday of the month, 5:30 p.m. Central Time. Be here on our YouTube channel to catch the next episode. Thank you so much for watching tonight. We want to thank everybody in the live chat. We want to thank everybody who's watching after the fact. And we want to thank all of you who support us. Thank you guys so much for all of your support. All of your questions, for those of you guys who wrote in, thank you so much for those. And remember, here at Arcade Repair Tips, when you fix the game,
you play the game.
Take care, everybody. We'll see you next month, or we'll see you here in just a minute for the after show. Bye, guys.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you for watching this episode of the Arcade Repair Tips live show. All of our past episodes are available on our website at arcaderepairtips.com or on our YouTube page. This show is intended for entertainment and educational purposes only. Please consult a professional before attempting to repair any coin-operated machines yourself. The preceding program is a Varcade Entertainment production.
And we're back with the after show for episode 75, May 2023. Tim, what'd you think about the regular live show?
I thought it was pretty good. I actually enjoyed it. Was some good questions, a lot of good feedback from you guys in the show. Dan, thank you for being here. I like it when the person that asks the question is here so we can actually get a little more info or follow up. So appreciate that a lot. But in the regulars, some of you guys just every month, feel like old friends, like the time we get to hang out once a month. So thank you for being here. And we try to make it entertaining and fun with the, like our debate topics and things that we do, all in good fun. The giveaways, things like that. So thank you for sticking around for the live show, because it's also a good time for us just to catch up and talk about things that we like to talk about. Maybe you do too, or you can bring up some topics in the chat for sure.
Absolutely. So let's talk about April. Actual. How'd your April go?
It was good. I made the trip to El Paso, which was for business, but I always got to do something. There's something about that area. I guess when you live here, people come here and they look at our pine trees and go, oh, it's so beautiful. I'm like, it's a pine tree and you should rake the pine needles. When I go out there, it's so pretty. You see all the desert and cactus, and people are like, it's dirt, But everybody's so friendly out there. I really enjoy being out there. I'm going to Amarillo in a couple weeks, kind of out West Texas again. Then I got a trip coming to Sioux Falls, South Dakota, which I've never been there. I'm really excited. I did find out it's 5 hours away from Mount Rushmore, though, so not close enough to go see that.
Sure.
But it's called Sioux Falls because there's actually waterfalls in there. It reminds me of Rochester, New York a lot. I'm really looking forward to seeing some stuff and meeting some people there. And then possibly going to Orange County, California, all within about a little over a month and a half time. So a lot of traveling. Our company, one reason why the trips come up is I keep up in my area a lot. And they have a really big deal about making deadlines if they say they're going to make a visit. So a lot of our competitors are way behind and stuff, and so we will spend a lot of extra money to keep our deadlines, even if it means flying me out to California, feeding me, put me up for a week. We want to make those deadlines. I like that about us, that we really, right now, it's come help California, come help us guys, and we'll all go out there. Several of us will go out there and help and get it all knocked out. So it's a good place to go, but I love to travel. I like to see, like to do new things and like to eat. So it's really good I like wherever I'm at, I try to blend in with the locals and have a good time. So
how's your Easter?
My Easter was good. We just had we made brisket, which is kind of our Easter tradition. My father-in-law just makes a great brisket. So we just had a couple kids. We did a little Easter egg hunting and eating. That's pretty much was it. My nephew was baptized on Easter Sunday. So that was exciting. We got to go. We all went to the same church. Normally everybody goes to their own church or whatever. This time, because he was getting baptized, we all went to the same church. So we all went to church, then we went home to our house and had Easter dinner and stuff. What about you guys?
Easter was super busy. So the day that we did the theater rental was also the day we had the Easter egg hunt at church.
Last year you built the Easter egg gun.
Yes, and we did the same thing this year. So we did the Easter egg guns, and then so we did the Easter egg hunt, the Easter egg guns. Okay, then we picked all that up. Then we went to the AMC and we did the movie with everybody. And then we came home. We crashed. We had to wake up early because we had to be at both services on Easter Sunday. And so we were there for both services on Easter Sunday. And I had to teach the youth class there. And then we got out and I went to my parents and we had traditional Easter dinner with them, ham and everything like that. And then we came home and exhausted.
Right.
I mean, that weekend was just super crazy. The next weekend, I got sick. Oh. The next weekend was my niece got confirmed.
Okay.
So my new niece, that Elizabeth, my sister-in-law, just remarried, and his daughter got confirmed. And so we went to support her because she got confirmed. And so went to Dallas that weekend. And then last weekend, and on top of this, I have soccer every Saturday morning with the kids. And so we have that too. And then last weekend, soccer was canceled because of the rain. Okay, so we actually had some time to pick up. But then Sunday we celebrated, or that afternoon we celebrated my mom's birthday and Mother's Day. So I had that. And then we had church again. And so this Sunday I've got my father-in-law is having his 100th birthday celebration on Saturday, so we're going to that on Saturday, and we got the soccer games, and then we have a makeup soccer game on Sunday because she missed that, and we have church. So it's big. So confirmed, is that a Catholic thing? That is several Protestant religions do confirmation. Methodist, Presbyterian, Catholic, a lot of them do. So on confirmation is where a kid will go through a class to basically learn about what it means to become a Christian, and then at the end of the class they will decide whether or not they want to do it or not. Okay. For those of you guys who don't know what confirmation is. And so she, my niece, she went through confirmation, decided she wanted to join the church and become a Christian.
So it's kind of like my nephew. He went to a class and he got baptized on. Right. That was the end of his confirmation. Right. We went to his baptistry and they gave him a little certificate showing that he got baptized and stuff. Yeah, so some people that was really cute. And some religions baptize do infant baptism. And so when you get confirmed, you don't get rebaptized necessarily, but you may get a what they call a renewing of your vow kind of thing, where you get dunked again just to remember your baptism, basically. So you may do that. Some believe that you get baptized when you confess belief. It just depends. There's different things of Christianity, so it just depends on kind of where you lay in that. So they're Presbyterian, so I believe she had already been baptized. She went through the confirmation class, and then she became a Christian, joined their church. And so we wanted to go and support that. So, neat. But yeah, she and she's very nice, and we were glad to be there. So it was good. But yeah, we've been busy. Sounds like it.
And, so I don't sleep. I don't get to sleep in ever. I got to sleep in last Saturday because of the rain out of the soccer games.
The kids let you? They didn't wake you up?
They let us until about 8:45. Okay. So I got quite a bit of sleep. So, man, I felt good there for about 3 days until I had to sleep again. This is why I love coffee, people. So there you go. But anyway, so it's been busy for us, Tim, to say the least. And I don't think it's going to get any less busy. So it is what it is. So I have investment talk here on the outline, Tim. But is there anything really to invest in? It seems like the markets have been down, and if not down, holding steady. So it may be a good time to buy.
Buy puts and Bud Light.
Yeah, puts.
That's what I would buy. Anheuser-Busch, I would buy a put in them.
So the whole controversy with Bud Light, of course, went on, and Tim, I kind of feel like it was really overblown. But that's just me. Whatever. So I just you know what I'm saying.
It's kind of a know your audience kind of deal, though, right?
I understand. But you know how it is. People have opinions, and so
and we don't get too political. I'm just saying that we want to do an investment that would be a safe one right now. But anyway, there's really not much move. There's a few movers out there, but I have not kept up much. One thing we'll talk about, we'll get to it. I kind of introduced last time that I thought that I was going to be a millionaire about 30 years ago when I saved up boxes and boxes and boxes and boxes of baseball cards and stuff, and I have realized they're never going to be worth what I probably paid for them. So, but the single cards can be, like the rookie cards and certain players and stuff. So, last week, last month. I brought 2 cards to open from my collection. Yeah, I forgot to tease it. This is a 1990 baseball and a 1990 football Topps brand.
This is like the heart of my collecting right here.
Both with gum still in them. So the gum is still in them. But, I thought we'll open them and see if maybe we can pull a Bo Jackson or something, or Troy Aikman or something.
Well, we're technically moving to sports talk. Let's do it, Tim.
All right. Well,
which one first?
Which one? It's baseball season now, so we'll go with the baseball season. This pack looks in better shape. One of the things that is popular now is to take a whole pack and get it graded and enshrined. And so I thought maybe, I don't know. These are not worth that much. They're still so. They're fun to do just this, what we call ripping them. We're just going to rip them.
YouTube Punk wants us to eat the gum. Okay. Not eating the gum. So
I don't know.
If you want to make a sizable donation, how much would it take for Tim to eat the gum?
I'll do it for $5.
Only $5, really?
$5.
For $5, if somebody donates $5 right now, he will eat this gum from 1990.
I won't eat it. I'll chew on it.
He'll chew on the gum from 1990.
I don't know if I'll swallow it, and I can't say how long it'll stay in my mouth, but we'll try it. The problem is that gum really ruins that last card. Oh yeah. So we want to make sure it's nobody important, and I don't remember the Yankees. Eric Soderholm.
So yeah,
Okay,
I barely remember him. Whoa, I'm dropping the card. There you go.
All right, so, well, here's interesting. So, starting off, we got a scratch-off play game,
Oh, there you go.
which who knows what
Sometimes those are worth something.
who knows what we could have won there.
Yeah.
We'll check into that later. Let's go with it. We got Jim Morrison,
Jim Morrison
All
for the
right.
Chicago White Sox.
Larry Christensen. Looks like must be a pitcher.
Larry Christensen.
All right. Andre Thornton.
Andre Thornton,
I'm not,
Cleveland Indians.
I'm not recognizing any of these names at all. Gary Allenson.
Allenson for the catcher for the Red Sox.
All right. Joe Pasella. All right.
Hey, Joe Pasella, pitcher for the Mets.
All right. We the next card, Cliff Johnson. I don't recognize him, but he kind of looks like a
First baseman for the Cubs.
Yeah, has a handlebar mustache. All right, so this may be our chance here, John. We got future stars.
Oh, future stars are
Okay,
big.
for the Angels though. So
Athletics.
the A's. I mean the A's. Yeah. So we got pitcher Dave Beard, Ernie Camacho pitcher, and Pat Dempsey catcher.
I do know those guys.
That's what
I
I was
do
gonna say.
recognize those names.
Well, that might have at least a dollar value.
So we have Dave Beard, Ernie Camacho, and Pat Dempsey.
Right.
I do recognize those, but you got to remember we played the A's a lot when I was a kid.
Right.
So-
So we have Dennis Littlejohn was a catcher. How do you like that name?
San Francisco Giants.
I have heard of this guy. Not super popular, but Steve Kemp.
Oh, Steve Kemp for the Tigers, outfielder.
These guys really had some long hair. Ed Figueroa.
Ed Figueroa, pitcher for the Rangers. I kind of remember him.
Okay. I do remember this name, Gorman Thomas.
Okay, Gorman Thomas for the Brewers.
It's also funny to see people's names, Gorman. You don't hear that name anymore.
Team that's not around anymore.
Yeah, the Expos. How do you say that, John?
D'Acquisto. John D'Acquisto, pitcher for the Expos.
All right. Then we have another pitcher coming up for the Cardinals, and this is Steve Swisher.
Steve Swisher? I do remember Steve Swisher.
All right. We got another Ranger, John. See if it's test your logic. I remember this guy, Richie Zisk.
Yes.
He's
Richie
an
Zisk.
outfielder. Okay.
So you got a couple of Rangers in there. That's good.
So pretty much.
That card feels a little rough. It may have had some of the...
Yeah.
That one feels... Oh, they're all...
A little bit of
that's all
gum
like
on
that.
there.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Yeah. So.
Well, you're not getting the $5 donation. I'm not seeing anybody...
Okay. We'll save that gum for later then.
Joe says, I gave my son the San Diego chicken card.
Oh.
I remember when he would come to the... Oh, somebody...
Oh, my
there
gosh.
you go. $5 for Tim chewing 33-year-old gum from YouTube Punk.
Oh,
Okay,
well,
he's got to do it.
Can't do it.
That's right.
I can't renege on a bet, so it is quite hard, I will say that much.
Oh, my goodness. The snap. Oh, my goodness. Did you guys hear that? Oh, my... Look at your face.
We'll get up in the microphone here. You know what's worse? It's not gumming.
Yeah.
I keep chewing, but it's not.
Pieces.
It just keeps staying in little pieces.
Oh, my goodness. Best $5 ever. I should have spent this $5.
It doesn't taste bad.
It doesn't taste bad.
No. I mean,
The gum was never good. Oh, you see YouTube
it
Punk Crunch.
kind of tastes like it always does. It tastes like gum.
It was never good gum.
Okay.
Oh, ASMR Tim. You got the ASMR thing going with the crunch.
And now it's like, it's just not gumming up. That's the weirdest thing.
If you want to... Here, I've got napkins here if you want to...
Yeah, I'm going to go in there.
Okay, I was about to say.
Right.
Okay, he's got to go to the restroom real quick.
Okay, then.
Oh, 2 crowns later.
It's like eating a hot chip. It hits you after a little bit.
Okay. So you're going to have a crown, Tim? Maybe?
Yeah.
He's in the restroom, guys. He'll be right back.
Maybe some dental work.
Maybe some dental work.
A little water.
I know several dentists. I figured this out now.
It.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Well, a good friend of mine from high school, his daughter is on Olivia's soccer team. My daughter, and he's a dentist now. And the one of the flower girls from our wedding is a dentist now. She's actually my dentist now. Uh-huh. And then we have a person at our church that he owns a dentistry business. I know a lot of dentists. Dentist is good. Our cross street neighbor's a dentist. So
right.
if you need dental work, you let me know.
Well, I must say, the aftertaste is bad.
Oh, gosh. You got water.
It kind of tastes like an old person. I don't know what an old person tastes
YouTube
like.
Punk says thanks.
Okay.
Good times.
Well, thank you. We had fun. Ugh. Okay. Yeah. It definitely wasn't bad at first, but it has an aftertaste.
$5 was too cheap. I
Okay.
would have gone for $50.
Well, this one's got gum in it too. I think I'm gonna agree. $5 was too cheap. I think we're gonna have to up the ante if anybody wants a second piece. Oh, this one's really broke up too.
Oh yeah. Just put it right there.
All right. So this is the same year, 1990 Topps football.
Okay.
It seems like I'm a little bit more familiar with the football players, so maybe we'll have a little better luck. I don't think we cashed out too hard right there. So we have Frank Lewis, a wide receiver.
Buffalo Bills.
You might notice too, John, if you show this, that they must have not have had the rights because the logos aren't on the helmets.
That is true. So we
Or
don't
nothing.
have the logos on the uniform.
We got a Saints player coming up, and he's just wearing a gold helmet. Looks
Right.
like the Fighting Irish. All right, so then we got a tackle, which you know is not going to be worth anything, right? Ted Albright.
Yeah. Albrecht.
All right, so then we have the Saints player here. He was a kicker, but not one I remember. Garo Yepperman.
Yeppermian.
All right. I don't want to say what this card is yet, but let's just say the last name is Simpson.
Oh.
All right. But it's not OJ.
Oh, okay.
It's Keith Simpson.
Oh, okay.
His little known cousin who needs to go to the barber. He is a safety.
Okay. So we got Keith Simpson. There we go.
Okay. I'm going to save that card for last. I don't want you to see it because it actually is going to make my day.
Oh, okay.
Watching it.
Look
It's
at
actually a player that I like, although he won't be super popular. But we'll save him for last.
Okay.
All right. So we got another Saints with the gold helmet and no
logos.
Henry Childs.
Henry Childs.
All right. Then we got a punter, which they always bring no money. Rusty Jackson. We got linebacker for the Chargers, Ray Preston.
Okay, Ray Preston.
We got a lot of Jacksons in this one. Oh, there's a good card, pretty good card coming up. Rob Jackson, a guard. How you like that face mask? You don't see that one very often anymore.
Yeah, that's classic right there. And again, logo is blurred out. You can actually see it there. It's supposed to be the Browns, of course.
All right,
and
so
it is blurred out.
Let's see how long. Not a rookie card for sure. So it's about a fourth-year card.
That's an all-pro card.
Of an all-pro. Everybody my age is going to know who this is. Not sure if you'll know John, but this is John Stallworth of the Steelers. So if you're a Steelers fan, a lot of Steelers fans, he was a really good receiver for them. Then we got a little lesser-known receiver named Ricky Thompson.
Ricky Thompson from the Redskins.
All right.
Which are no longer a team.
Right. And then Preston Denard, wide receiver. And the only card in there that I really cared anything about, I'm glad I have it. Will go in my personal collection. It was not for sale. And it's not a great player, but it is to me. How about the Cowboys kicker from this era of Super Bowls, Raphael Septien?
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah, so I like the Septien card with the silver helmet, no star on it. So anyway, fun, not chewing that gum. It's going to take a little bit more money this time, so you got to dig real deep. But so
$50 is $50 enough to entice you.
Oh, 50! I'd do it for 50 now. I ain't crazy. I mean, it wasn't that bad, But 5, I don't know. 5 is not the thing. But
I'll give you the $5 that I'm going to get from YouTube Punk here.
Oh, okay.
So you can take it home with you tonight.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So there you go.
Well, hope that was fun. Thanks for. We really didn't hit any big stars, but that's a Septien. I have a Cowboys collection. I probably have about 200 cards of Cowboys players. So if you got any Cowboys cards you guys want to trade, I trade arcade parts for them, whatever. But I like, especially ones that I grew up like Septien. I watched him kick him for the Cowboys. It was awesome.
So as you saw on these cards, they didn't have any logos on them. If you get, a lot of times a card manufacturer may only get the rights to the Players Association, but not the league.
Right.
And that's what happened, I'm sure, with these cards, is they got the Players Association and not the league. The fact that they were even able to put the team names on there is pretty impressive, because a lot of times you can't even put that. And I sent Tim the new Donruss baseball cards. Recent ones are the same way. They have all the players, and they say the team, but the team says like TX for Texas, NY for New York, and all the logos are blurred out on them. And so, like, if you see an Aaron Judge card, I sent you the Aaron Judge example. He's just basically in a gray uniform, a gray uniform, and it says Aaron Judge NY on it, and it says his position, of course, but outfielder. But that's all it says, and that's because it's all about rights. And so when a card manufacturer gets the rights, if they don't have the rights to both the league and the Players Association, then they can't do one or the other. It's much more valuable to have the Players Association than it is to have the league. And so they'll get the Players Association rights a lot of times, but not the league rights. And so that's why you see these with the blurred out stuff on them and everything. So, and it's hard to notice. They usually do a really good job of making sure it's hard to notice that it doesn't have the logo on it. But you do if you're looking for it. So.
Definitely some airbrushing going on back in the day.
Absolutely. So a little blurring and stuff.
What's going on in the chat?
YouTube Punk said at $5 he had to pounce.
I think my stomach's starting to hurt.
Oh, there you go. We got to wrap this up. He also said I have the complete Marvel Series 1 cards from the 90s. I'd like to get them all framed. Yeah, you can do that. So, absolutely.
That's what I think. I saw somebody on eBay selling Tron cards unopened for like $2 a pack. I was like, so those are some good cards. And Star Wars cards like that. A lot of those I had and collected. Just fun. I think it's fun, and it's still fun. Oh, thank you guys for letting me indulge and open a couple of my packs. I didn't hit anything big, but maybe next time. So watch again.
I like this. It's fun.
Okay.
So bring more packs.
Okay. I got plenty to go through.
So let's talk about some sports real quick. The first place Texas Rangers are doing really good, Tim.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've been watching.
The pitching is the starting pitching. We must say is very very good. Is DeGrom going to be back pretty soon?
Oh yeah, he'll be 2 weeks.
He sure looks good.
Yes,
man.
he does. When he pitches, he's really good. When he pitches, that's the problem. Actually, we're about to get what's his name back? Our shortstop. I can't think of his name at the moment.
Lunt.
I can't think of it.
Well, he got hurt.
Corey Seager.
Yes, Corey Seager.
So we're about to get Corey Seager back, and so and it's just he was been on the IL for a month.
Yeah, pulled a hamstring or something.
Yes, he did. So, and I saw him when he was running. So, so he's about to come back, and then the Angels are doing pretty decent. The Astros are pretty good, Tim. The Rays are fantastic. Good Lord!
How many games have the Rays lost now?
Not many, like a handful or something.
Yeah, like 3 or 4.
That said, the A's are freaking terrible. Yeah. So you open that A's card. That's the good times. For the A's. The A's have bought land in Las Vegas, Tim. They're pulling a major league, like the movie.
Yeah.
Okay, where it's like we're gonna suck so horrible, we're gonna have to move the team. That's literally what they're doing. They're gonna move to Vegas. Bad. So it is done. They bought land.
Wow.
They are moving the team. The Las Vegas Athletics. That's what it's gonna be. Or I don't know. They may change the name. But yeah. So anyway, so the A's are the worst team in baseball, and luckily they're into our division. So Yankees are not doing good. The Yankees are not doing good. No. They came in here. We won 3 or 4 from them.
Yeah, we haven't done that in years.
No,
decades.
Let's see. There are a lot of good teams out there. It's going to be fun to watch baseball. And have you noticed the new rules yet? Have you guys really gotten accustomed to watching the new rules? I love the new rules. The games are shorter and faster.
Yeah.
And it makes them more fun.
So
if you haven't watched baseball in the last couple of years because you're like, it just takes forever, games take forever, it's too slow. New baseball is different. The rule changes are different. The games move at a much brisker pace. You should definitely check it out if you haven't already. Mm-hmm. So I enjoy watching baseball now, and I feel like I have to pay more attention to it when the game is on.
Right.
So if you haven't checked out a Major League Baseball game in a while, just go watch one and see what you think. So let's talk about NBA real quick. Tim, there are 4 teams left on both sides. Eastern Western Conference. We got the Knicks, Celtics, 76ers, Heat. We've got the Nuggets, Suns, Warriors, and Lakers. Who do you have your money on right now?
I like the Celtics.
Okay.
But if I had to put money on it, the Suns are pretty tough right now. I probably would bet the house on the Suns before anybody else.
You can't count out the Golden State Warriors.
No.
You cannot.
Not even the Lakers.
Or the Lakers. But, Tim, I'm putting all my chips in. I'm rooting for one team. and that is the New York Knicks,
Okay.
mainly because of Jalen Brunson.
Okay.
And I miss him. I missed him this year on the Mavericks. I wish we
Mm-hmm.
would have had him. Kyrie was fun to watch, but I love Jalen Brunson, and I hope they can pull it out. But they've got a big task ahead of them, too. So I'm rooting for the Knicks, but I think any of the teams you mentioned or I mentioned could win this thing. You know, the 76ers could pull it out. I mean, I think it'd be tough, but I think they could. They're good. But the Suns, I'm with you. The Suns are tough. A lot of talent there, Tim.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, the thing, the Warriors are awesome. You know, golly, how long have they been really good?
Very
You know what I'm saying?
long time.
I mean, it's just
A decade.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you just can't count them out. The Lakers are the same way. As long as you got LeBron,
Right.
you know what I'm saying?
You got a chance.
But the Warriors, Stephen Curry, you realize that Stephen Curry has played for the Warriors his entire career and will probably retire a Warrior.
That's all.
How many people?
Doesn't happen very often these days.
Dirk.
Right.
Is that it? You know what I'm saying? Like, how many people stick with one team and play there their whole career? Not many. So, I mean, just the fact that he is stuck there and played there his entire career and probably will is pretty awesome to me. I'm just saying. So, I'm rooting for the Knicks, but I'm kind of with Tim. The Suns are good. And so I could definitely see them pulling it out. Lakers, Warriors, a lot of these teams can pull this out, guys. Celtics could definitely pull it out.
All
So
right. That's who I'm rooting for.
you should be watching because it's fun to watch. And another thing you should be watching, the NHL playoffs.
For sure.
I mean, there's a lot of good teams in it. Now, Tim, the big two teams are out.
Right.
The Boston Bruins and the New York Rangers are out. Okay?
But that means the Stars are still in it.
That's right. The Stars are still in it. We're playing the Seattle Kraken. And Tim, the Seattle Kraken is a expansion team, and they're fast. That is the thing about the Kraken, okay? They beat you with speed. They're going to beat you to the puck. They're going to beat you down the ice. They're going to, and so I'm hoping that our guys can keep track, okay? But I don't know if you saw the hit that Joe Pavelski took in the first round of the playoffs. He took the nastiest hit. He was back for the first game against the Kraken, scored 4 goals. Hat trick plus 1.
4 goals.
That is amazing. And he's the oldest player ever to do that.
Wow.
Dude got skills. So, look, don't count the Stars out yet. We play tonight. Okay, I like the Seattle Kraken. I think they're a good team, Tim, but we're going to pull this thing out. Sky versus water, we got this.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, anyway. So you should be watching the NHL playoffs because the playoffs are a different animal for hockey. It's fast. It is so fast. Momentum can shift so quickly. It is amazing. You should be watching it. And NBA is the same way. But I feel like in the NHL, like the ice that feels like this big during the regular season feels like this big in the playoffs. It's like guys can get down the ice faster. It's like things move quicker. It's amazing to me. So you should be watching the NHL. Another big championship is coming up, Tim, and that is the XFL championship.
Right.
And as people know, we're Arlington Renegades fans, and guess what?
We're
They're
in the
championship. Okay.
Somehow.
Yeah, so we played the Houston Roughnecks, Tim, twice this season, and twice got beat pretty bad. In fact, the Roughnecks were probably the best team in the XFL. One of them, okay? DC being the other one, okay? But I thought for sure they were going to put a whooping on us. I didn't even watch the game. And the game was in Houston, too, Tim. They had home field advantage.
Home field.
Okay? But what happens, Tim? We
They
go in there,
won.
we wreck house.
Right.
Bob Stoops.
He's the man.
He just came up with all the plays. And I tell you what, it was amazing.
Big game Bob.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, in that game, they came through. The defense played awesome. The offense, we got a new quarterback about midway through the season, Tim, who can throw downfield, and we have receivers who can catch it. Amazing.
Pretty interesting. Pretty good to watch if you guys haven't watched it.
Yeah.
I think it's better than that in USFL.
Oh, yeah. Way better than the USFL, in my opinion. So, the Arlington Renegades are going to play the DC Defenders in San Antonio this Saturday, Tim, for the championship. Okay? DC is good. Okay? DC may be the first or second best team in the league, just like Houston was. And so this is going to be a close game. If the Renegades can play like they played against Houston, they could win this thing. So I'm just saying. It's good stuff.
We'll see.
So I want to see it. It's the championship game.
Sure.
You know, I mean, it's the Super Bowl of the XFL. Might as well watch. I have not watched much of the USFL, Tim. Have you watched any of it?
A little bit.
Okay, what do you think so far?
It just looks like a really slow college game.
Yeah.
It doesn't look, it's not the same. It's definitely not, doesn't look like pro football.
So the thing about the XFL is they changed the rules up a lot, and everybody's mic'd up, including Bob Stoops.
Right.
When you can see when he's cussing because he lifts his mic up like this.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen that? And so Bob Stoops, he's very aware. You'll
Right.
see him do this move. If he's doing that move, guys, you know what's about to happen. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
But I like the fact that everybody's mic'd up. They interview players right after they score a touchdown. You get unprecedented access in the XFL, which is so fun. Because you
It's
get
fun.
a guy that tells you exactly like what's going through his mind as soon as he scores the touchdown.
Right.
You know, it's like, really? Or they interview the offensive coordinator. What made you call that play?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
What'd you
see? Right? And so it lets you understand football at a level you don't get to understand it normally. And I really like that. That's why I like the XFL. Championship game, though, this Saturday. Check it out. Joe says, so I've been playing this game I call Fart in an Elevator. When I leave a restaurant bar, I leave something crazy on the jukebox. What do y'all... what you got besides Yoko Ono, etc.? Let's see. I think what built this city on rock and roll is always something crazy to leave on a jukebox, right? I mean, it just it is what it is. What people call the worst rock song of all time.
They say that, but I always like it.
Me too. I got no problem with it. I was trying to think of something really weird though. Beach Boys have some have you ever heard Beach Boys Pet Sounds?
No.
There's some weird stuff on that album. So if you haven't, there's some weird... That's like when Beach Boys were going through their weird phase. I think it has good vibrations on it, but it's got some other weird stuff. They were definitely doing something, Tim, that involved smoking. I will say that. Something off that album would probably be good. I was trying to think of something else, Tim. Is there something just crazy that just... off the wall type of music. Baby Shark YouTube set.
Okay.
YouTube Punk says that Baby Shark is definitely torture in some places.
Or like Achy Breaky Heart or something.
Yes, Mambo number 5. You know what I'm saying? So, some people that's still their jam, and if that's you, man, more power to you, I guess. There was some, like if you look through the history of top 40 music, there's some weird ones. If you go through, like I remember just like some of the older Casey Kasem top 40s that I have, and there's on some of those top 40s there are some weird songs.
Right.
So, yeah, you may go through some of the old top 40 stuff. The Macarena.
There you go.
That's definitely something that's up there. People I think remember that stuff fondly though. It's nostalgic, isn't it? It's like we all did the Macarena when we were little, even though we had no idea what it meant, right? I mean, like we all did that. It was what it was. Baby Shark, my kids love. So you know how that goes. I was trying to think of something just really weird or Mr. Roboto, I think by Styx.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's greatly appreciated anymore, but I sure appreciate it. So let's see. Is there anything else, Tim, that you can think of?
Oh, it's always fun just to throw some Michael Jackson on or something.
But he's thinking about something weird.
Something that would be just like, who played this song, but he's already out.
Exactly, right.
He took off.
Oh, here's the thing, too. If you have the Touch Tunes app and you connect it to, like, your local bar, you can play music anytime you want. So you don't even have to be there, and you can pick a song for that jukebox. Did you know this?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, so you could always just play it even though you're not even there. So that's good. That's a good thing. So if you have a buddy who's at a bar and you just put something on the jukebox, for them, even though you're not there, kind of thing. Barney, YouTube Punk says, I love you, you love me.
There we go.
Oh, have you seen I Love You, You Hate Me, the documentary about Barney on
I haven't watched
Peacock?
it, but I've been wanting to see it.
So there you go. I will continue to think on this while we talk about movie and TV show talk.
Okay.
Okay, so do you want to go first with the one that you watched 16 episodes
You're curious, aren't you?
I'm very curious.
Well, I just wanted to watch something that was kind of short and kind of funny. And you talk about weird, a little silly. Have you seen New Girl?
Yes, I have.
Okay, I watched like the first season in one setting almost because it was just silly. I don't know. I was in the kind of mood where I didn't want anything deep, and it's like you almost have to. She talks really fast, and you have to really listen. Sometimes I have to rewind, but I watched about 16 episodes straight of the New Girl, just 20-minute episodes or whatever they are.
I do love New Girl. We have
funny.
not watched beyond, I think, the second season, but one of my favorite Thanksgiving episodes ever is the New Girl Thanksgiving episode. That is one of my favorite Thanksgiving episodes.
Where she goes to the neighbors?
Yes.
Yeah.
It is fantastic.
Yes.
I watch that at Thanksgiving almost every year.
That's really where I just thought, this is a classic show. It's so funny, and people will be talking about this one day. So that was the show that I watched. Like that, would you binge watched? I guess you could say
that episode. Let's talk about Thanksgiving real quick. That episode and the WKRP in Cincinnati, the turkey giveaway one, is very good as well. Yeah. So if you're looking for Thanksgiving episodes of things, those are the two Thanksgiving episodes. There's a Cheers Thanksgiving episode, right, where they get into a food fight.
I think so.
Yes, that one's really good too. So I like watching holiday episodes when the holidays come. It's some of my favorite TV shows. So. New Girl, you don't know New Girl.
New Girl is on Hulu right now.
Okay. And it has, what's her name from Elf? Oh, what's her name? Zoe Deschanel.
Yeah.
That's who it is. So, I had to think about it.
Yeah.
Yes. It has her in it, and she's very good.
Yeah.
So.
It's just funny. Let's watch it. It's just a funny show.
Absolutely.
A sitcom.
Yes.
Sitcom funny.
So let me talk about two things that Tim mentioned last time.
Okay.
The Night Agent on Netflix.
Okay.
So you mentioned you finished this.
I did.
Okay. So I started watching it, and okay, Tim, the acting is not good.
No, it's not very good. Actually.
Acting is pretty bad,
Yeah.
except for the cop that took the gunshot.
Yeah.
And protects the vice president.
Yes.
He is good.
Right.
The rest of the acting,
It's
okay.
a Netflix original.
Yeah. And so I watched 2 episodes and stopped for a
Okay,
little bit,
yeah.
okay? And now I picked it back up, and I still think it's meh, but I do want to see it through to the end.
Okay.
So,
Gotta watch it all the way through.
if my meh scale would be like a 5 out of 10.
Okay.
The fact that I'm continuing on it, I'm going to give it a 6.
Okay.
Okay? I mean, it's good.
It gets better.
Yeah. Oh, and you
Watch
two,
it.
Punk and Joe, both quoted my favorite quote from the WKRP in Cincinnati. As God is my witness, I swear I thought turkeys could fly.
Yeah.
Yes, that is the
Right.
line. So,
line.
a wonderful Thanksgiving episode. You should watch every Thanksgiving. WKRP in Cincinnati. A fantastic show. Watch the whole thing. So, but anyway, yeah, so Matt on the Night Agent.
Okay.
I know that a lot of it's in the top 10, right?
Uh-huh.
It's not bad. It's just not great. Okay. It's meh. It's good to watch. It's interesting. Acting is pretty bad across the board. Except for, like I said, the guy who protects the vice president's daughter.
Yeah.
The guy who does that.
Yeah.
He is good. You can tell, like, he's on a different level than basically everybody else on the show.
It's gonna get better.
Right. So, but the acting is meh. The storyline is decent. So you're looking at a 6 for me. It was good. Let's talk about Jesus Revolution. Now, you
Okay.
mentioned you watched this.
Yes.
So it came out on demand. I watched it too. Very good. So this kind of had the same problem with the acting, though. So it's got
Kelsey
Kelsey
Grammer.
Grammer, who does a fantastic job.
Right.
Okay. And then the guy who
Jonathan
plays...
Rumi.
Yes. And he does a good job.
Right.
But everybody else...
It's
Very
kind of
rough.
fill-ins, yeah.
Right. If you took the music out of it, it felt very soap opera-y.
Okay.
Okay. But the story is good. So
Uh-huh.
like The Night Agent, you've got kind of so-so acting with pretty good writing. With Jesus Revolution, you've got mostly so-so acting with a better story, in my opinion, than what you have with The Night Agent. So the story is really good. Even if you're not a Christian, it's a good
Right.
story.
Yeah.
It's just a good story. Because
Right.
basically it's about...
It's about acceptance.
It's
and-
about acceptance.
Yeah, and
It has to do with the church, but it's more about accepting people for who they are.
right.
That's the moral of the story. And it's good.
My favorite part, the guys from Texas come.
Yes.
That's where I say
That was pretty awesome,
You know
yeah.
what I'm saying? When they pan over
Yes.
the cliffs.
Yes.
If you haven't seen that part, and that to me was, it really kind of gave me chills. That
Agreed.
was a good.
Yes. That
a
was
good
the best
scene.
part. Yes.
Yeah.
And the one, Kelsey Grammer, the other one that really got me, Tim, and I think I started even tearing up a little bit, was when Kelsey Grammer was basically telling his congregation...
Yeah. If
That scene right there.
If you don't like it,
Yeah.
you can leave.
Yes.
Yeah, kind of deal.
Yeah, exactly.
That was good.
The way he worded it and everything.
Well, and if you ever watch Chuck Smith or Greg Laurie, he portrayed him really, really well.
Right.
Yeah. So
Regardless of what you think about Kelsey Grammer, he's a good actor.
yeah.
Okay, I mean, he's
Oh,
a
he
good
played
actor.
that part great.
Yeah.
Perfect
I've seen him in a
person
lot
for
of
that.
things, and even outside of Frasier, which I'm a huge Frasier fan. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
I love Frasier. Even outside of Frasier, he's a good actor.
Right.
Okay, and he's just good. So regardless of what you think of him politically or anything like that, he does a really good job in this role, and he acts really well.
One of the coolest things was when we were leaving the theater, John, there was an older lady with her, looked like her grandma, with probably a preteen granddaughter.
Mm-hmm.
And she says, "What did you think of the movie?" And the granddaughter said, "Is that really where you were baptized, Grandma?"
Oh,
And I was like, wow.
yeah,
That was cool because here she was here in Texas,
Right.
Influenced about how influential this time was. So
Yes.
I was kind of young and you weren't even born.
No.
So, it was a different time area. And I think that's kind of what I was listening to talk radio today. And it was like, there is just no middle. You have this side
Yep.
and this side.
Yep.
We're kind of split right down the middle. And man, we need some gap, something to bring us together. And I don't know what it will be, but
so I was
I
telling...
hope something will happen.
Yeah, I tell I teach the youth at church,
Uh-huh.
and I'm telling them, here's the thing, guys. You're hearing messages from this side. You're hearing messages from this side. I'm telling you, the truth is somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
Okay? The truth is not on either side a lot of times. It's somewhere. Now, it may be leaning this way.
Right.
It may be leaning this way, but it's not this way, and it's not that way.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's somewhere in the middle. And I think that's what we forget, is like, there is great compromise in the middle that can happen if we're willing to prioritize what things mean to us, okay?
Right.
And it's like, we don't have to take our sides and stay on those sides, because if we do that, literally nothing gets done. We both have to kind of move, right, into the middle somewhere in order to get anything done. So that's something we have to think about, okay? And so if you're not willing to compromise at all, basically it's just people fighting at each other.
Yeah.
Because you don't even
Which
willing
is
to
what
talk.
you hear. Oh, every talk
Exactly.
show, every...
That person's wrong. That
yeah.
person's wrong. That person's wrong.
Or
that
if you
person's
don't
wrong.
agree
That's
with
wrong.
me, then you're
Right.
wrong, or you
Exactly.
don't feel like I do, and that goes for both sides. So, but what other movies did you see, John?
Yeah.
That-
Joe, Kelsey Grammer as Beast in X-Men was so underrated. Agreed. Kelsey Grammer was Beast in X-Men.
Right.
Do you remember that? He was
That's
awesome
right.
in that. So, again, Kelsey Grammer, great actor. So, anyway, I saw Shazam! Fury of the Gods.
Okay, I was tempted to watch it, but I didn't. So
Okay,
what-
it's so the acting is decent in this. Okay, I liked the first Shazam, and if you like the first one,
I did.
Look, it has Helen Mirren in it.
okay.
Okay, it's got Lisa, what's her name, that was in Charlie's Angels. I can't think of her name at the moment. But she's in it. And then, so the acting is pretty decent. The story's meh, because it's basically just like every other superhero movie that you've seen.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Big bad guys come in and, all this kind of stuff, and we've got to take him out. Right?
Right.
So it's pretty by the book, which is pretty predictable for the most part. But it's fun. So, and I hate that it didn't do better at the movie theater.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it just hit at the wrong time.
Yeah, maybe.
Because the Mario movie was coming out, and I think everybody was waiting to see the Mario movie, and
Right.
so they were kind of holding back on Shazam. But overall, I liked it. Probably a 7.
Okay.
Because I like superhero movies. If you're not a superhero fan, you'll probably rate it lower. But it's fun. It's funny. But it's pretty much bad guys versus good guys, right?
Yeah.
I like that.
Pretty simple.
Yeah. Creed 3. Fantastic.
Okay.
Okay, this...
I like all the Creed movies.
It may be my favorite.
Wow.
Because the bad guy is so good.
Okay.
And what makes a good versus evil movie? What
Right.
makes the movie? The bad
Right.
guy.
Sure.
Okay, like The Dark Knight, right? The Joker makes the movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you have to have a really bad guy. So in Creed 3, if you haven't seen the previews, I won't ruin anything. But basically, his buddy that he's friends with in childhood gets busted, goes to jail for a while, comes back. Creed gives him a shot to fight, but he wants the title and wants to fight Creed for it. That's the whole thing. But the way they build up all that, fantastic. Acting, man, so
huh?
good. So good. It is better than Rocky. Like the Creed series may be better than Rocky.
Wow.
And Creed 3 is the pinnacle. It is the pinnacle. I've seen
Okay.
the others. It's the best. So
Okay.
you need to watch it. If
I'm
you
gonna-
are at all interested
I've liked the
in
other
Rocky
two.
and Creed, you should watch Creed 3. It is worth every penny of your time.
Good.
And it moves fast. You will not, I'm bad at falling asleep because I watch movies late at night. You will not. You will watch this thing through to the end because it is that good.
So I should mention I watched Taken 3.
Yeah.
On
Take it 3's
HBO.
okay.
It was okay.
Yeah.
It was a little disappointing.
You're right.
So I'm hoping Creed 3 will be a little
Creed
better.
3 is awesome. So spend the money if you're a big fan and watch it on demand. It's worth the money. So YouTube Punk says, "Can I plug my Etsy shop?" Sure. Throw the link in the live show, and we'd love to plug it for you. Yes, it may be better than Rocky. Seriously. Now,
Wow.
look, Rocky 4 is really good. Okay, it's not better than Rocky 4. It'll never be better than Rocky 4. Okay, but it may be better than Rocky 3, Rocky 2.
Wow.
It's really good.
Okay. Good.
So I'm just telling you. So watch it.
So what other shows have you seen then? Have you?
I watched the end of Perry Mason.
Okay.
And it was really good. I enjoyed the entire season 2 of Perry Mason. More than season 1.
Okay.
So if you haven't watched Perry Mason, watch
I
it.
haven't watched it yet.
Matthew Rhys is awesome. Did I mention that? Good actor. Fantastic actor.
Yeah, Taken 3 is on HBO
He said
right now.
Taken 3.
Oh, yeah, Taken 3.
Taken 3. So
Yeah, wasn't enough fighting in it.
how many times can they get taken, Tim?
I don't know.
It's just-
Well, can't take her no more.
Oh, exactly.
All right.
So Perry Mason season 2 was really good. Season 1 was rough of Perry Mason. I still liked it. But season
Okay.
2, it's in its stride. It's good.
You saw a show I want to see, Diplomat. What's that like?
Okay.
Because I've been really
You watched The Night
interested in
Agent?
that. Yeah.
You should have been watching
Diplomat.
The Diplomat.
Okay.
Because The Diplomat is fantastic.
Okay, good.
It's a 9. for me.
Okay.
It is
Wow.
really
Way up
good.
there.
Now, I'm a big Americans fan.
Yeah.
I like Matthew Reese. And I like Kerry Russell, right? And she's in this. Mm-hmm. Oh, she does awesome. But not only her. The cast around her is good.
Okay.
So, I mean, she's good, but everybody does a really good. Now, the vice president is kind of, like, he gets on my nerves. Like, I don't know. He's okay.
That's kind of like Kamala.
Well, not going there. But the person who plays the president in this is really good, and you'll recognize him. He was in Clue and a whole bunch of stuff. You'll know him. The guy who plays the president is really good. The chief of staff lady is really good. Like, it's the night agent, but better.
Okay.
And the difference is that basically Kerry Russell plays a diplomat that she's a ambassador. And she's used to being an ambassador to Middle Eastern countries, which means trying to solve problems in Middle Eastern countries whenever she can. They assign her to be the ambassador of the UK.
Okay.
Which is
Sounds like an easier job.
Frou-frou job.
Right.
It's less about actual diplomatic negotiations and more about waving.
Right.
But she ends up basically kind of like fish out of water. She's like, I don't know how to go to these functions. I don't know how to interact with these people. But I know how to get things done.
Okay.
And so I'm good at getting things done. And she has kind of a thing with her husband. I don't want to spoil that too much because that's kind of a key plot line throughout the time. We have 2 more episodes left, me and my wife, and we love it. Okay. The Diplomat has already been renewed for season 2.
Okay, good.
Okay. It's good. Watch The Diplomat. Kerry Russell, awesome. Almost the entire rest of the cast is good. And I can't say that about a lot of Netflix shows.
Okay.
Watch The Night Agent. You should be watching The Diplomat.
Okay.
Okay. The Mandalorian season 3 was good. It didn't focus as much on Din Djarin and Grogu. Okay. It focused more on kind of like this side plot with what's her name? That was kind of like the Mandalorian leader kind of thing. But it's good. I enjoyed the season. So if you're a Mandalorian fan, you should definitely check that out. And we're in process of watching Marvelous Miss Maisel on Prime Video, last season for that. So, and the first episode of the last season was good so far. So, the last season of The Goldbergs came out.
Wow.
Tonight or yesterday.
Wow.
Do you realize that?
Didn't
That show's been on the air like 10 years. They did like the entire decade of the 80s, right?
All right.
I mean, it got bad after a while. I stopped watching it.
Yeah.
But
I lost interest.
exactly. YouTube punks. All right, let's see. Joe says, I really want to see Air. I do too.
That's on my list. I was going to mention that earlier.
I'm going to wait till it comes on demand and I'm going to get it.
Me too.
So hopefully by the next time we have a show, we'll talk about Air. Michael Jordan's not featured in it much. Have you heard that?
Sure. Well,
Yeah, they said that it's more about his family.
Right.
So anyway, YouTube punk. I think it's a requirement to be vice president. You have to be lame. Maybe true.
Well, you don't want somebody outshining you.
That's true.
You want them to be kind of. They're all kind of goofy.
Yeah. So it could be. But yeah, the vice president in The Diplomat, he's fine. Or no, they don't really show him in The Diplomat. You don't get to see much of the vice president. You do a little bit. Just a little bit, but not much. So, I mean, that role's not as big as it is in The Night Agent, where it's really big. See, I'm getting them confused because I watched both of them.
Okay.
But The Diplomat's way better. Okay. What else, Tim? Do you have anything?
No, it's getting kind of late, but I appreciate everybody sticking around. We've had a lot of good discussions. Last chance, maybe if anybody in the live show still here wants to get in on the Pac-Man keychain playable game.
So if you guys are still around and you want to get in, we'll give you a reminder here in the after show. You can win this game key ring. If you send a email to contest@arcaderepairtips.com, put your name, put your address, and put the code phrase "Gonna be May."
Gonna be May.
We've already gotten some of them.
Okay,
some of you guys have gotten them, but send that in and we'll get to that. I don't think there's anything else that we got, Tim. I'm gonna be watching the Stars tonight. Hopefully,
they're already playing.
Yeah, no, not till 8:50.
Oh, 8:50. Okay, good.
They say it's at 8:30, but it's not 8:30.
Okay.
And then we'll be back. We'll be back here in June.
Let me see. I want to look at that.
June 1st. 4 weeks.
Oh, good.
On the 1st.
Good, because I'm leaving on the 5th, so that'll work. That'll work.
Okay, so we will be back on June 1st with Live Show 76. Tim, we're getting awful close to 70 or 100, and that makes me nervous. Tim might not make the next show after that gum.
I'm kind of worried. I may be busy a little bit tonight. I don't know. My tongue's a little rumbly. No, it's not that bad.
Okay.
The aftertaste's not good. But it didn't taste bad at first. It really didn't.
Okay. So there you go, guys. We want to thank you guys for sticking around for the after show tonight. We want to thank you also for being here for the live show. For those of you guys who were, hopefully you had a good time there and a good time here as well. Yeah, Tim, we don't do NPR here. Hello.
Yeah.
And welcome to Arcade Repair Tips with Tim and Jonathan. We don't like that's what every podcast wants to be, right?
Right.
Is like This American Life. I'm like, no.
Yeah.
No. High
Not our
energy.
style.
Exactly. So hopefully you guys had a good time. And we're glad you're here. Make sure you join us next month for live show episode 76. But now I'm going to go into that monotone level. And we're going to sign off. We want to thank you guys. And we'll see you next month. Take care.
God bless you.